What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3PR Chapter 71, Yin's Death, Aizen Ascends to the Throne. What to do? Although the captain is very strong, he is not Aizen's opponent. Kira was worried. After learning that Ichimaru Jin's purpose was to kill Aizen, he no longer cared about his betrayal. Although he never cared about it, Ichimaru Jin is by Aizen's side, and he will inevitably do a lot of indiscriminate killings of innocent people. It's like cutting Hiyori in half. Ichimaru Jin did assassinate Aizen with Kamishini no Yari, but that doesn't mean he's a good guy. Rukia's eyes narrowed. There are some things that Captain Ichimaru Jin can't help himself, otherwise, he wouldn't have had the chance to get close to Aizen. Kira took over. Aizen, who has fused with Hogyoku, only Captain Ichimaru Jin by his side can kill him. Yeah, don't worry about whether Yin is a good guy or a bad guy. It's a fact that he killed Hiyori, and it's also a fact that he assassinated Aizen. Jingle Chunshui looked at Kira. His eyes flashed indifferently. It's also a fact that he betrayed the Soul Society. Even if the captains accept him again, the 46th room of the upper level of the Soul Society will judge him as a repeat offender. At this time, Rangaku remained silent, as if he had placed himself outside the hustle and bustle of the world. She already understood why Ichimaru Jin had to talk to herself alone. Silver is afraid that Aizen will hurt her, and tells Aizen that he will kill her with his own hands, which is protecting. Silver, so this is the reason? Rangaku thought. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo and Sato breathed a sigh of relief again, but also felt shocked. Fortunately, Long Gui and the others escaped, but it was Ichimaru Jin who saved them in disguise. Ichimaru Jin is such a strange person, what he will do next is unpredictable, Kurosaki Ichigo sighed. Ichimaru Jin saved Longui, and why did he assassinate Aizen? Inoue Orihime was equally puzzled. Never mind the reason why Captain Ichimaru Jin did this, the result is good, isn't it? The corner of Renji's mouth raised slightly. If it wasn't for Ichimaru Jin, Aizen would have bloodbathed the Soul Society, and Karakura Town, 7th 5-year plan, would also be destroyed. Immediately, the smile on his face disappeared, and he said very apologetically, Captain Ichimaru Jin, I admit that my voice was a little louder before, don't mind me. Ichigo also laughed awkwardly, my voice was quite loud before, I'm sorry. Visored. O_O. The members of Visored showed surprised expressions almost simultaneously. Ichimaru Jin, what is this doing? The ending turned 360 degrees, Shinji. Look at it. Hiyori patted Hirako on the shoulder excitedly. Hirako was also stunned. Aizen was killed by Ichimaru Jin in the end, who would have imagined the ending. The people of Visored have a blood feud with Aizen. Seeing that Aizen was assassinated, they were happier than anyone else. Even thanks to this, big hero, who assassinated Aizen. But who is the assassin? Ichimaru Jin. The man who cut Hiyori in half with a single blow. Although Ichimaru Jin assassinated Aizen, I will not thank him. Hirako looked at Hiyori, and his eyes became sharp. Killing Aizen is considered revenge for them. But hurting Hiyori, Ichimaru Jin is his enemy of Hirako Shinji. Seeing Hirako's appearance, Hiyori couldn't help laughing again, and complained, you idiot, Aizen was assassinated, and you are still frowning. Hirako Shinji can't be happy, he knows that there is a cause and effect, if Aizen's assassination becomes a reality, then it must be a fact that Hiyori was cut in half. Soon he adjusted his mood, looked at Hiyori who was laughing at him, and cursed angrily. The job of revenge was taken away by others, you can still laugh. Void Knight Palace. Espada, who was sitting on the seat, and the subordinate officers behind them were a little confused at this moment. Why did Ichimaru Jin do this? Isn't he Aizen's most trusted person? Zamari Ruro was the first to speak, he slammed the table and stood up, cursing furiously. Ichimaru Jin, that be *******D. Dare to betray Lord Aizen and ask me to kill him. Holly Bell gave him a cold look, and said, with your strength, you were instantly killed by his Kamishini no Yari before you got close to Ichimaru Jin, right? Impossible. Never. Zamari Ruro's eyes widened. He is the fastest moving in Espada, has the fastest spin, even if he can't avoid Kamishini no Yari who is 500 times the speed of sound, but he can still change into the shape of the embryonic posture, into a pumpkin-shaped body, might be able to block Kamishini no Yari. It can only be said that he is too naive and too confident in his own abilities. Ichimaru Jin wanted to kill him instantly, but it was not an instant thing. Yeah, we haven't counted a few people yet, but 2 traitors appeared, it's really scary. Grimjow cast a deliberate glance at Baragan, sarcastically. Baragan coughed lightly, but said nothing, but his heart was ecstatic. Someone finally ended Aizen, which had been his life's wish. Even if the person who killed Aizen was not himself, he would be satisfied to see Aizen fall. Silver, you actually did such a thing to Captain Aizen, why did you do this? Tusen Kanami immediately jumped up, blocked the door of the secret room, and questioned Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin didn't become nervous because of being exposed, because he knew that being nervous was useless, and with Aizen by his side, there was absolutely no possibility for him to escape. Of course, he couldn't take the liberty to make a move. Aizen, who has such a thoughtful mind, might have released Kyoka Suigetsu before he came. Maintaining a small smile, Ichimaru Jin smiled and said, "Yeah, my hand slipped, I'm sorry, Captain Aizen." Aizen frowned, cursing in his heart, "Slipping your hands, uncle. Accurately stab at Hogyoku's position, you tell me it's hand slipping? Silver, don't argue anymore. If you don't give Captain Aizen an explanation today, I won't let you go." Tōshirō Kanami took out Zanpakuto and placed it in front of him. He was bound to ask for an explanation. "Yes, don't get excited." Aizen turned to look at Tōshirō Kanami, who put Zanpakuto down. Immediately, he looked at Ichimaru Jin with great interest, and said lightly, "Kamishini no Yari is really powerful, stabbing precisely at Hogyoku's position, but only this level can't kill me." Ichimaru Jin continued to smile. "Captain Aizen has been perfectly integrated with Hogyoku. With my ability, I really can't kill you." Saying this, Ichimaru Jin has another thought in his heart. "Of course I know that Kamishini no Yari can't kill you directly, but I am not just this little thing." Captain Aizen, what to do with Ichimaru Jin? Tōshirō Kanami is now addressing Ichimaru Jin directly. "Yes, didn't you hear what Yin said? He can't kill me with his ability." Aizen smiled softly. Although Tōshirō Kanami was a little scrupulous, he instantly understood what Aizen meant, put away Zanpakuto, walked up to Ichimaru Jin, and said with anger, "Ichimaru Jin, if you dare to attack Captain Aizen, I will never let you go, you." Ichimaru Jin smiled. "Of course not, Invisible Empire." Yuhabach admired Ichimaru Jin very much. A person who can achieve great things, but isn't it too much to kill Hogyoku Aizen at this level? The video screen continues to play. Ichimaru Jin touched Kyoka Suigetsu's blade, and said calmly, "The only way to escape Kyoka Suigetsu's ability is to touch the blade before complete hypnosis is activated." It took me decades to ask this sentence, and no one in the Godai 13 knew about it. Ichimaru Jin put away Kamishini no Yari. "Everyone is suffocating, and I am really scared to kill Captain Aizen, but I am the only one who can kill Captain Aizen." Aizen took 2 steps back, blood oozing from the wound on his chest. He clutched the wound, and murmured, "I know your purpose, but I still keep you by my side, because I don't know how you want to kill me. Very interested." Even Kyoka Suigetsu's cracking method was deliberately told to Ichimaru Jin by himself. "But it's a pity, Yin, do you think you can kill me at this level?" Seirei outside the video is already very lively. Does Kyoka Suigetsu have such a cracking method, other than Aizen, only Ichimaru Jin knows? Toshiro frowned, feeling the terror of Aizen. Before Aizen defected, they even thought that Aizen's Zanpakuto was a water attribute Zanpakuto, but they didn't know that it was actually the strongest Zanpakuto of the illusion system. Don't even try to understand Kyoka Suigetsu's cracking method. Fortunately there's a solution, otherwise Kyoka Suigetsu would be too buggy. Komamura Sajin nodded. Aizen is really scary, as long as Captain Ichimaru Jin stays with him for the purpose of staying with him. The reason is to know how Captain Ichimaru Jin killed him. Kira swallowed, feeling terrified. And we have overlooked a problem. Aizen is now fused with Hogyoku. Captain Ichimaru Jin can't kill him at all. Yeah, Ichimaru Jin has been lurking beside Aizen for so many years, and even asked about Kyoka Suigetsu's cracking method. Do you think he will know the strength of Aizen after fusing with Hogyoku? Jingle Chunshui looked at Kira with a smile. Maybe you're Captain Ichimaru Jin, what else can you do? According to Ichimaru Jin's stamina, he wouldn't be at this level. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes lit up. I want to see it too. Back to the video screen, I didn't think about it that way. Of course Ichimaru Jin knows that with Kamishini no Yari, if Aizen doesn't have Hogyoku, it's still possible, but Aizen who has fused Hogyoku is definitely impossible to kill. So he held up the shortened Shinso, pointed his finger at the middle of the blade, and said, "Can you see, there's a small gap here." He pointed to the wound on Aizen's chest. "Just now, I left it in your body, Captain Aizen." What? Hearing this, Aizen was startled suddenly, with the look of Marami showing on his face. "I told you in the past that I am Bankai's ability, sorry, I lied at that time." Ichimaru Jin continued. "Actually, it doesn't stretch as much as I said, and it doesn't stretch as fast as I said. It's just that it will turn into dust at the moment of stretching and shrinking. And on the inside of the blade, there is a poison that can dissolve cells. It seems that you have already understood." Looking at Aizen's tightly frowning brows, Ichimaru Jin smiled like a lion majesty. "Just now, after my knife pierced your chest and pulled it out, there was already a small piece of dust left in Captain Aizen's heart." As soon as I said this, everyone outside the video knew that I was tricked by Ichimaru Jin. In this world, Nani, that guy Ichimaru Jin actually lied to me. His knife is not as long as 13 kilometers, nor is it 500 times faster than the speed of sound. The corner of Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched, like a clown after being toyed with. I just said how can Zanpakuto have such pervert length and speed, it turns out to be a fake. Even so, Kurosaki Ichigo had a chill down his back. Even if Kamishini no Yari is not as exaggerated as Ichimaru Jin said, the speed is definitely not something he can react to. It is Kamishini no Yari's original ability, the poison stored in the blade. In the original battle, if Ichimaru Jin wanted to, he could have kept the poison in his body when he cut himself. This kind of cold and poisonous ability like Lion Majesty is even more terrifying than length and speed. Seirei. Ah, have we all been lied to? Ichimaru Jin is such a jerk? Zaraki Kenpachi scolded directly. Sui Feng's eyes were cold. Sure enough, the knife is like a man, we have all been tricked. It's similar to my Zanpakuto, Ichimaru Jin, I didn't expect you to hide it so deeply. Kurotsuchi Mayuri became interested. His killing Kaisaidagarba can also use poison, but in terms of the strength of the poison. Kamishini no Yari does not seem to be as toxic as Kamishini no Yari. Komamura Sajin was filled with righteous indignation. Great to kill Aizen. Void Knight Palace. Silver, do you still keep this hand? Aizen looked at Ichimaru Jin with a gleam in his eyes. An ability that you don't even know about, Ichimaru Jin, you can really hide it. Fun, Ichimaru Jin smiled. How can you kill Captain Aizen without any means? He was a little surprised at the moment. He had been lurking beside Aizen for so many years, and his purpose was already guessed by Aizen. Aizen is such a scary person, the invisible empire on the throne. Yuhabach slammed the chair handle violently, his brows twitching. What a good Ichimaru Jin, you even deceive me. He has omniscience and omnipotence, but he can't guess the result, he is a little ashamed. In the video screen. Silver. Aizen wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Ichimaru Jin. If you still have time to talk, I advise you to find a way quickly, but even if you hurry up, the dying will eventually perish. Silver came to Aizen's side and reached out to Aizen's wound. Shoot him, Kamishini no Yari, Silver, you be ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* bewildered, with cold sweat streaming down his face. Hogyoku shone extremely brightly and slowly emerged from Aizen's chest. Death with a hole in the chest is considered to have fulfilled your wish. Ichimaru Jin said. The next moment, Aizen's upper body was dissolved by the poison, creating a huge hole. This is the true power of Kamishini no Yari, highly toxic to life cells. Thinking back to the scene where Rukongai Aizen took Rangaku's soul, and seeing the tragic Aizen at this time, the smile on Ichimaru Jin's face disappeared. He reached for Hogyoku, who was suspended in the hole. As long as Hogyoku is acquired, Nai's soul can be retrieved. In an instant, Hogyoku was already in his hand. Aizen, who lost Hogyoku, fell back 5.2 and landed hard. Ichimaru Jin had already brought Hogyoku to the entrance of the alley, panting heavily. When he took Hogyoku, his arm was also eroded by poison, melting some flesh. Fortunately, Hogyoku was taken away. Ichimaru Jin holds Hogyoku. This way it's all over. It's so toxic, no wonder Captain Ichimaru Jin is ranked 32nd. He deserves this ranking, and it's even a little lower, shubing outside the video side. Rangaku also smiled, it's all over, but at this moment, in the video screen. Boom. An extremely terrifying Ryotsu erupted instantly, as if the whole earth was shaking. A strong man like Ichimaru Jin was shocked by such a Ryotsu. Aizen let out a roar, and his body half kneeled up. Roaring with all his strength seemed to bring him infinite energy, and the flesh and blood on his chest that had been eroded by the poison emitted the same star color as Hogyoku. Another violent force erupted, and Ryotsu formed a beam of light that shot straight into the sky. And the entire Karakura town, the grass and trees buildings are shaken, and may collapse at any time. Soon, the beam of light disappeared, and Aizen turned into a butterfly. His mutilated body has been completely repaired, and his form has undergone a huge change. There is an extra eye-like slit on the forehead, the eyebrows disappear, 3 pairs of huge butterfly wings grow on the back, a hole with Hogyoku in the center appears on the chest, and the right hand merges with Zanpakuto. At this point he is far beyond the scope of the Shinigami. Aizen slowly opened his evil eyes, and said to Silver in the distance, I won, Silver, even if the Hogyoku you took away is not in my body, it belongs to me. There was a flash of light in his pupils, and the Hogyoku in Ichimaru Jin's hand echoed and radiated light at the same time. The next moment, Aizen disappeared out of thin air, and unexpectedly appeared behind Yin in an instant. Shocked, Silver opened his eyes to meet Aizen's evil gaze. Aizen didn't leave him any chance, he swung his knife down, and the blood spattered everywhere. Chapter 72, Rangaku and Silver's Love, the 31st one announced, seeking subscription. Ichimaru Jin's chest was cut with a long wound, and he fell on his back. Looking at Aizen this time, his former gentle vice-captain of the 5th Division suddenly flashed in his eyes. If you start to turn into a snake tomorrow, start to bite people, and use that bite mouth to scream that you still love me, will I still be able to say the words that I love you like today? Ichimaru Jin fell in a pool of blood. The screen changed. Rangaku woke up suddenly, she lay on the ground panting heavily. It feels like. In vain. Hakudo is a Kido cross between Bakudo and Hado, taking the form of a cloudy beam of light that stuns enemies and can briefly cause Ryotsu to disappear. It dawned on her that before Ichimaru Jin aimed Kamishini no Yari at herself, she hadn't actually fired. The light produced is actually produced by Baifu. Silver. Rangaku frowned, and was stunned for a long time, unable to move. Rangaku outside the video is far more sad than himself in the picture. Her legs suddenly went limp, she let out a short and convulsive breath, and froze in place as if rooted. Obviously not because of the fact that he was not killed, but Ichimaru Jin. Silver is dead, and in this way. Incarnate as Lion Majesty, with that biting mouth, I can no longer say the words I love you. Rangaku couldn't bear it anymore and ran out of the conference room. She was sobbing outdoors, pear blossoms brought rain. Ichimaru Jin loves her, but the word, love you, will never come out of his mouth. Having a lover but not getting married, this is probably the most regrettable thing in the world. Seeing Rangaku running away, Toshiro wanted to go up to comfort him, but just as he moved away, he stopped. Perhaps at this time, leaving Rangaku alone is the best choice. Oh, Vice Captain Rangaku. Jingle Chunshui hesitated to speak, and then changed the subject. Captain Ichimaru Jin's poison can't kill Aizen, it's really difficult. The heart cells were melted, and no one could survive this state. But who would have thought that Aizen would repair itself with the power of Hogyoku, and even evolve? You know, Hogyoku was taken by Ichimaru Jin. Aizen is able to connect with Hogyoku even without itself. Doesn't this mean that Hogyoku and Aizen are already one? Oh 4. Damn it, I thought Aizen was going to die, but Ichimaru Jin was killed instead. Toshiro frowned tightly. Now his distaste for Ichimaru Jin has dissipated a bit. Although there is part of Rangaku's reasons, he also admires Ichimaru Jin's determination to go undercover for many years just to take Aizen's life. Hogyoku has been completely integrated with Aizen, and it will be difficult to kill him next. Kurotsuchi Mayuri is well aware of the power of Hogyoku, under the almost perfect fusion situation. Aizen can already become a god. A team house. Yamamoto Genryuzai looked at the appearance of Aizen on the screen, and his heart was rarely surprised. As the strongest Shinigami in the millennium, at this moment, he also felt a great threat. Aizen Sosuke, only I can stop you, Void Knight Palace. Ichimaru Jin's permanent smile disappeared, not because Aizen was resurrected, nor because he was killed. Instead, saw Rangaku wake up, just like what he said in the video, with his current identity and appearance, he is no longer qualified to say love you to Rangaku. Soon, his usual smile returned to his face. Oh, Captain Aizen is really amazing. His heart has been corroded, but he can still be resurrected. Hogyoku is really a good thing. Aizen didn't get angry, but smiled lightly, walked to Ichimaru Jin's side, and said, Silver, you were almost killed by your Kamishini no Yari. But at that time Hogyoku had completely merged with himself, in other words, he was immortal. Silver, you even deceived me. See, this is what happens to traitors. Tusen Kanami snorted coldly, then looked at Aizen. Captain Aizen, do you want to get rid of him now? Aizen didn't answer Tusen Kanami immediately, turned his head and walked towards the gate, stopped when he reached the gate, turned his head slightly and said, Yes, you and Yin get along well. After speaking, he left directly. It is already known that Ichimaru Jin's ultimate move is the poison hidden in Zanpakuto. Aizen felt a little boring, and the sense of surprise disappeared all of a sudden. Now that you know that I am immortal, then, Yin, how will you kill me next? Aizen-sama is indeed a god, the god of Hueco Mundo. Zamari Ruro stood up suddenly and praised Aizen. Ichimaru Jin is a B***************. He has been killed by adults now, haha, idiot. Baragan gave Zamari Ruro a hard look. I thought that the old man is the king of Hueco Mundo. You Aizen is the god of Hueco Mundo? The picture continues. After Aizen beheaded Ichimaru Jin, the Hogyoku in the silver hand emitted a bright light, and automatically returned to the hole in Aizen's chest. That's right, I found the answer to Hogyoku earlier than Urahara Kazuki, but failed. In order to complete Hogyoku, I plundered the souls of hundreds of Shinigami and several Rukongai residents with Shinigami talents, and imbued them enter Hogyoku. But Hogyoku showed no signs of satisfaction at all, but judging from the experimental results alone, Urahara Kazuki's Hogyoku was not complete, so I will take his Hogyoku and inject it into mine. But at this moment, Ichimaru Jin, who was still conscious, reached out to take Hogyoku back. But he was pinched by Aizen, and his arm was directly broken. Aizen smiled slightly, and extended the Zanpakuto again, stabbing Ichimaru Jin's heart for a finishing blow. Silver lost consciousness and fell under the knife. Evolution requires fear. If you maintain the status quo, you will immediately face the fear of ending in ashes. Thank you, Yin. Thanks to you, I have finally become an existence beyond Shinigami and Shu, Aizen boasted. Urahara store. Kazuki closed his eyes silently and lowered his hat. It can also be regarded as a moment of silence for Ichimaru Jin, who desperately wanted to take back Hogyoku. The success of Hogyoku came from him, and he does take some responsibility for this outcome. But a wicked person, even if there is no Hogyoku, he will create another Hogyoku. In the video screen. Silver, where have you been? Silver. Rangaku's voice rang in Ichimaru Jin's ear, then the screen turned. Rukongai, flying snow, little Rangaku chasing little Ichimaru Jin. The two stepped in pairs on the snow. Isn't this Shinigami's clothes? Where did you get this? With his back on his back, Ichimaru Jin resolutely said, I have decided, I want to be a Shinigami, become a Shinigami, change this fate, so that Rangaku doesn't have to cry like this all the time. Silver. This roar brought the picture to reality. Rangaku pounces on Ichimaru Jin, who is lying in a pool of blood. I still couldn't do it, and I couldn't get back what you lost, Rangaku, in the end, as expected. I apologized to you earlier, it's really great. Ichimaru Jin's consciousness was no longer strong enough to speak these words to Rangaku, so he could only recite them silently in his heart. Silver. Rangaku was distraught, and tears fell on Ichimaru Jin's cheeks, but he could never wake up Jin, who was about to sleep. At this point, Aizen turned his blade on Rangaku. But suddenly, there was a bang. Kurosaki Ichigo came to this world carrying Kurosaki Isshin. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo has long hair, as if it has been several months. Kurosaki Ichigo, are you really Kurosaki Ichigo? Aizen turned his gaze to Ichigo. What do you mean by that? Ichigo was puzzled. If you are really Kurosaki Ichigo, I am too disappointed. Now I can't feel any Ryotsu from you. Even if you are suppressing your own Ryotsu, it is impossible for me not to feel it at all. Aizen was disappointed. Your evolution failed. The last chance I gave you, you just lost it in vain. However, at this time, Ichimaru Jin slowly opened his eyes with the remaining consciousness, looked at Kurosaki Ichigo vaguely, and murmured. Ah, the eyes have become firmer, that's great, now you can rest assured I leave it to you. After saying this, he closed his eyes forever. The video playback ends here. Seirei. Everyone was silent. At this moment, they all understood Ichimaru Jin's good intentions. Also feel sorry for the lovers Ichimaru Jin and Rangaku. To change the status quo and not make Rangaku cry bitterly, he chose to be Shinigami. Lurking by Aizen's side for decades in order to reclaim Rangaku's soul. Who can guarantee that they can do this for love? There was no sound in the conference room. The sound of Rangaku sobbing came clearly. Outside the meeting room, Rangaku was already a little weak from crying, and while crying, he muttered. Silver, this is not the result I want to see, you do this. Ask me if I want to. Even if she loses her soul forever, she doesn't want to see Ichimaru Jin die for it. But soon, she wiped away her tears, regained her composure, and walked slowly into the meeting room. Rangaku, are you okay? Toshiro looked at Rangaku who walked in, his eyes were swollen from crying, and greeted with concern. It's all right, Captain. Rangaku relieved his gloom and smiled sweetly. As a Shinigami, she can't be so vulnerable, she's going to help the Seirei, help the Soul Society deal with Aizen, and kill Aizen. Instead of letting Ichimaru Jin go on an adventure. I now understand why Captain Jingle said that Ichimaru Jin was to help Kurosaki Ichigo. Shu Bing glanced at Rangaku, then at Jingle Harasui. Now they all know that the battle between Ichimaru Jin and Ichigo is for him to hone Kurosaki Ichigo. For him, Kurosaki Ichigo was another backbone in killing Aizen. Even if he fails, he can entrust his hope to Kurosaki Ichigo. HHHHHHHHSE of. Jingle Chunshui smiled. Although Ichimaru Jin has fallen, but Ichigo has come, we still have hope. Rukia's eyes are bright, although according to Aizen, he doesn't feel Ryotsu in Ichigo at all. But she believes that Ichigo has not failed in evolution, but has become stronger. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo swallowed a mouthful of spit, feeling a little tangled in his heart. He was very moved by the love story of Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rangaku. At the same time, he also understood the meaning of what Ichimaru Jin said to him back then. Ichimaru Jin, isn't it an enemy? At this time, the three big characters of Ichimaru Jin shone extremely brightly and were engraved on the gold list of combat power. Rank 32nd in combat power, Ichimaru Jin. With the inventory of Ichimaru Jin finished, the first place has also been revealed. 31st place in the combat power list, Bazz-B. Name: Bazz-B Force. Invisible Empire Identity, Destroyer. Ability: Holy Text H. Heat, Attack, 90 Defense, 88. Speed, 88. 89 Vitality, 89 Ryotsu, 90, 750,000. It turned out to be Quincy. Is it stronger than Captain Ichimaru Jin? Kira was shocked immediately. Although Ichimaru Jin's 13 kilometers and 500 times the speed of sound are bluffing, but Kamishini no Yari's real ability is also extremely strong in the three realms. Can Quincy beat Kamishini no Yari? The Quincy with the ability of the Holy Word has strange and changeable abilities. Maybe it is really more powerful than Ichimaru Jin's Kamishini no Yari. Toshiro certainly knew the horror of the Quincy, and he has been made into a zombie. What ability does the Quincy have that he can't accept? Holy Text is blazing. From a conceptual analysis, it should be stronger than the critical strike of Bambi Aida. Byakuya Kuchiki said lightly. The power of temperature is far greater than the power of explosion. Not only does he compare Bazz-B's blazing abilities to Rukia Kuchiki's Absolute Zero and Bai Shafe. Rukia can control the cold, and Shibazi can control the heat? You know, the heat is more terrifying than the cold. Is this why Bazz-B is ahead of Rukia? Byakuya Kuchiki thought. The attack panel is as high as 90, which means that the fiery destructive power is terrifying. What's the big deal about the heat? Can it melt my Zanpakuto? Byakuya Kuchiki, seeing your sad look, what's there to be afraid of? Zaraki Kenpachi sneered, There have been so many strong players on the combat power list. What ability he has never seen before? The Area 403 is hot, nothing to be afraid of. Yachin Liu pulled Kenpachi. Aegean, don't take it lightly. Invisible Empire. Ah, your coxcomb head is actually ranked 31st. Massacred Bell Shi, and glanced at Bazz-B. Bell hoped that he couldn't understand Bazz-B's arrogance, so he also sneered. Dolisk, are you looking for death? Don't even look at the difference in combat power between the two of us. Bazz-B frowned instantly, staring at Bell Shi viciously. He hates people making fun of his hairstyle the most. Forget it, you weak guy, you are not even worthy to help me lift my shoes. Opponents like Ichimaru Jin and Aizen are interesting. Bazz-B jerked his head, his indifference to answering was disgusting. I'm dying of laughter. Aizen from Hogyoku, you help him carry his shoes? Bell Shi said the same thing, but when she turned her head and thought about it, something seemed wrong. Doesn't that mean that he is only worthy of carrying shoes for Bazz-B? However, at this time, the video had already started playing on the big screen. Seirei, the Quincy invaded, and the garden burst into flames. After seeing the change, Kira Jingzuru and several officers in the 3rd Squad immediately pulled out Zanpakuto and prepared to meet the enemy. Spirit Child Investigation Team, are you alright? Kira hurriedly looked at Shinigami behind. Ryotsu makes up, the matching rate is 93%, he is the Quincy Master, the Ling's Investigation Team roared after confirming the enemy. But at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the spiritual pillar of fire. Immediately afterwards, a rapid flame shot towards Ji Shen. Kira suddenly felt severe pain, and looked down with terrified eyes, and found that her right arm and half of her chest were gone. He lost consciousness and fell directly into a pool of blood. Damn it, you actually attacked us. Tobakushi Rikuu, the 3rd seed of the 3rd Division, frowned, and held Zanpakuto tightly. You roll up, Haruchin. The 5th Zawuli Wudong also releases Zanpakuto. Blow the whistle, the tiger falls. Let's get rid of it. Katana, the 6th Wooly Taketsuna was about to slap Shikai, and suddenly grabbed his head with a slap, and slammed it to the ground. The moment Bazz-B turned his finger into a gun and pointed at Tobakushi Rikuu, a wave of flames shot out, and Tobakushi Rikuu's upper body was blown to pieces, leaving only the lower limbs and quickly fell to the ground. Immediately there was another one-finger snatch, and the 6th seed was also instantly killed. I'm sorry, the order I received is to annihilate your entire army. Bazz-B took off his military uniform hat, revealing his pink-combed head. Seeing this, Kira outside the video was a little dumbfounded. Was he instantly killed? This. What kind of monster is this guy lying on the ground? Hinamori Momo gave Kira a worried look. It seems that it is difficult to survive with a broken chest and broken arms. You must know that Kira's strength is not weak among the vice captains. Zanpakuto Wabazuki is similar to Fujitora's control of gravity, and the weight of the objects he chops will continue to double. Although it was Bazz-B's sneak attack, Kira didn't notice Bazz-B's attack at all. Even the vice captain of Kira was instantly killed. This guy is too strong. The corner of Wooly Takazuna's mouth twitched. It was normal for him to be killed by the 5th seat. The level of the 2nd kill vice captain is. Isn't that an exaggeration? Chapter 73, Toshiro's current girlfriend? Kurosaki Lee panicked. Please subscribe. You can launch a flame attack with your fingertips, and it's really troublesome to play with guns. Jingle Chunshui shook his head helplessly. He felt a bit of a headache for the opponent with the gun. When he was counting the Quincy Robert, he was shot in the right eye by Robert's weapon, the spiritual light gun. And he has another opponent, the first blade in Espada, whose weapon is also a gun. Although Bazz-B's attack method is finger pistol, its shape is also a gun, and its lethality is much higher than Robert's light gun. If the opponent I faced back then was Bazz-B, I guess I would be killed if I was distracted, instead of simply buying a right eye. Extremely lethal, and very fast, Captain Jingle. This Quincy is not comparable to Robert's level. Toshiro smiled lightly, and this gun. It's also quite special. Rukia took over the words. You can directly blow up the body of a vice captain level Shinigami with one blow. No wonder the attack attribute is 90. Not to mention the vice captain, even the captain level, without defense, it is very likely that they will not be able to withstand the fiery blow. Shu Yegung, Ichimaru Jin looked at Kira in such a miserable state, and was a little silent, thinking that according to Izuru's strength, he shouldn't be pierced through the chest and have his arms broken. Invisible Empire. Seeing his heroic performance, Bazz-B immediately became arrogant. What kind of B************ D is dead Shendu? Under the scorching heat of Laozi, all living beings are equal. Iron Kangdu twitched his lips, and said coldly, Bazz-B, you don't even look at who your opponent is. They're all a bunch of trash. Everyone here can kill them instantly, right? When you defeat such an opponent, you start to forget yourself. The corner of Bazz-B's mouth twitched lightly. I'm sorry, it's the same when the captain comes. In the video screen, Yamamoto Genryuzai is facing Yuhabach. But at this moment, take your life, old man. Bazz-B, Ace Knot, and Nanana Najikup fell from the sky to attack Yamamoto Genryuzai. Yamamoto noticed the moment when the enemy was attacking, and turned his head slightly. A pillar of fire rose into the sky in an instant, like a volcanic eruption, and lasted for a long time. The three of Bazz-B were submerged in the pillar of fire, and their life and death were unpredictable. Yamamoto Genryuzai's torch can detonate all surrounding objects with flames at the moment the enemy rushes from behind. Yuhabach looked at the three people in the flames, and said angrily, "A group of idiots set foot on my battlefield, and this is the end." When the video played to this point, everyone in Seireii burst into laughter. Bazz-B really doesn't know what's good, how dare he sneak up on the captain? Jingle Chunshui waved his hand. Yamamoto is not a person who can use common sense, this level of sneak attack can only be said to be dead in vain. One of the Quincy's is Ace Knot, who is also on the ranking list. The captain instantly killed 3 Quincy's, so it might make them calm down. Sui Feng commented on the 3 Quincy's. Kudos to the teacher for his courage. Is the counting going to end just after it started? Toshiro was puzzled. Although Bazz-B's appearance is really handsome, he instantly killed Shinigami of the third team. But facing the torch of Yamamoto Genryuzai, I'm afraid he will definitely die. The stocktaking is about to end as soon as it starts. Bazz-B is the first person, ha ha ha. Omeda burst out laughing, calling for Bazz-B's grievances, but it's not good, and she wanted to offend the captain. No. Byakuya Kuchiki frowned and looked at Toshiro. Captain Hitsugaya and Captain Sui Feng also said that one of the 3 Quincy is Ace Knot. Don't forget, that guy will be in the battle later. It reappeared and was finally defeated by Rukia, which means that the 3 Quincy divisions are not dead. It can only show that Ace Knot is not dead, and the other 2 cannot be guaranteed. Moken Sajin said. You must know that the Quincy who died in the hands of Yamamoto Genryuzai still tortured and killed Bell Shi in large numbers. Yamamoto just swung the fire knife and directly burned Bell into Kurozumi. The move of the torch is more lethal. Maybe Ace Knot was lucky and didn't die, Shu Bing said. Bazz-B's ability is Scorching Heat, which is similar to the captain's ability to a certain extent. It is very likely that he used his own ability to isolate the captain's fatal damage. Jingle Chunshui's eyes froze. In other words, Bazz-B not only avoided a lot of damage through his ability, but also saved the other 2 Quincy. The deputy team and the chief executives turned their heads and thought, this is indeed the truth. Can't help being surprised. Bazz-B is the first person to survive under the knife of the captain. Invisible Empire. Bazz-B, you're done. Bell smiled contemptuously. Although he himself died at the hands of Yamamoto Genryuzai, he confronted Yamamoto head-on and was killed. However, the 3 of Bazz-B were instantly killed during the sneak attack, which was of a different nature. Dolisk, do you think this level of damage can kill me? It's ridiculous. Bazz-B grinned contemptuously at Bell, and continued. Don't think that everyone is as fragile as you. Ace Knot also spoke, with Bazz-B here, the 3 of us will not die. Although he hated Bazz-B's character, he never doubted his ability. Sure enough, the video screen changed. On the Seireii battlefield under the Palace of the Spirit King, the building of the Invisible Empire, the Palace of Ice, has appeared in some places. Stop, Quincy. Damn it, don't pass, one more step forward, and you will die here. The guards stood firm at the border, looking at Bazz-B who was striding forward, holding a chopping knife, and roaring angrily. Boom. A fiery wave suddenly hit, and the flames like a sea of fire rushed over immediately. The formation is like Ryujin Jaka of Yamamoto Genryuzai. The soldiers were directly submerged in the flames. Bazz-B poked his ear with his little finger, and said casually, why is it not allowed to pass through? We have already completed the invasion. Seireii has disappeared without a trace, so there is no question of whether to pass through or not. But at this moment, the flames burning the soldiers were suddenly extinguished, and then a layer of ice wall isolated the soldiers. Indeed, there is no question of whether to pass or not, but your flames still cannot pass through this place. Toshiro suddenly appeared, holding the Zanpakuto hilt in the scabbard behind his back. Ha ha ha, what, I thought who it was, I remember you. Bazz-B spread his hands and looked at Hitsugaya Toshiro and Matsumoto Rangaku in front of him with mocking eyes. At this time, Rangaku's hair has become short hair, but the volume of the hump has not diminished in the slightest. Isn't this the captain of the ice who was taken from Bankai by Kangdu? As soon as this remark came out, Toshiro outside the video was shocked for a moment. My Bankai was taken too. According to previous information, those who took Bankai were Chojiro Sasaki, Komamura Sajin, and Byakuya Kuchiki. Unexpectedly, my Bankai was also taken away. Xiaobai, your Bankai was also taken away, so what should I do? Hinamori Momo glanced at Toshiro in shock. You must know that the strongest Toshiro is Zanpakuto. Without Bankai's Hiranmaru, how could he beat Quincy? By Rangaku. Don't be silly, even if Toshiro doesn't have Bankai, Rangaku doesn't have Toshiro's level either. It's not that Hinamori doesn't believe in Toshiro, it's okay if the opponent is an ordinary Quincy, but it happens to be burning Bazz-B. That guy is a Quincy who didn't even die under the attack of Captain Yamamoto. Since we took the initiative to fight, it means that we have the ability to deal with Bazz-B. Besides, Rangaku's hair is cut short, maybe we can master Bankai. Toshiro smiled lightly. Such is his character, he would seek other ways to improve himself even without Bankai. Captain, what does this have to do with hair? Rangaku waved his hand. According to Bazz-B, Captain Hitsugaya's Bankai was taken away by a Quincy called Kangdu, which means that Bazz-B doesn't have Captain Hitsugaya's Daigor and Hiranmaru, so he can fight with peace of mind. Shuhei looked at Toshiro and cheered him up. Maybe if Captain Hitsugaya and Deputy Captain Rangaku are 2-on-1, we can win. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the battle between ice and fire. Jingle Chunchwi stared at the big screen, full of anticipation. The video footage continues. Hearing Bazz-B calling himself Captain of Ice, Toshiro was a little speechless. He stared at the other party solemnly, and said in a deep voice, I am the captain of the 10th Division, Hitsugaya Toshiro. Bazz-B is also self-reported. I am Star-Crossed Knight's Age, Scorching. Bazz-B. It seems that we are quite compatible, and we are still quite compatible. Boom. Bazz-B spread his hands out in the shape of claws, and the blazing flames burned from behind him in an instant, melting the ice layer covering the ice palace a lot. One of the two is fire and the other is ice. To say it is a co-production is just Bazz-B's sarcasm. That's right. Toshiro's eyes froze, and when he pulled out the Zanpakuto, a large number of ice crystals also appeared around his body. Whoosh. The fire waves and the ice tides collided and cancelled each other out, producing extremely powerful shocks. Kepipi. The sound of the flame being extinguished also resounded through the entire ice palace, and a mushroom cloud of mist rose. The ice layer also turned into countless ice blocks during the collision, causing ordinary soldiers to suffer, and they kept screaming as they were hit by the ice blocks. Back off and protect the others. Rangaku asked the soldiers to leave the battlefield. Leave this guy to me and the captain. Because the next battle is not something that ordinary soldiers can participate in. Even if they are watching the battle around, they may be injured by the aftermath of the battle. Bazz-B, who was outside the video, instantly became interested. He doesn't like to fight the weak, but likes to constantly improve himself in the battle with the strong. I thought Toshiro, who was taken from Bankai, was a weak chicken, but now it seems that there is something else. But only to this extent, Captain Ice, you will still die. On screen. The soldiers obeyed Rangaku's words and were just about to leave. But someone discovered the problem, and one of the team members held the ice cubes that shot over and said, Look at these ices. Did these ices protect us just now? But they are obviously very thin. It would be a miracle if the flames could be blocked in this way. Captain Hitsugaya, are you really okay? Although the words are a bit harsh, but the team field is really worried about the guests. Compared with normal days, the ice at this time is indeed too thin, which means that Hitsugaya Toshiro's strength has weakened. It was as if their mouths had been opened, and Toshiro's ice was instantly shattered and melted by the fire released by Bazz-B again. Hey, your ice is too thin. Standing in the flames, Bazz-B shouted to Toshiro very proudly. At the same time, he also felt a little boring. Fighting against such an opponent was really boring. He even wanted Kangdu to return Toshiro's Bankai, which would be interesting. Winter Lion outside the video. Of course, Lang knew that the reduction in the hardness of the ice cubes was an inevitable result after Bankai was taken away. Jingle Chunchwi noticed the concern on Toshiro's face, clapped his hands quickly and said, Captain Hitsugaya is doing well. Without Bankai, he also protected the team. Toshiro echoed, Yeah, Captain Hitsugaya, without Bankai you might be able to stimulate your other potential. Hearing this, Toshiro smiled lightly, I hope so. But even the team members questioned his ability. Is he really Bazz-B's opponent? In the video screen, Bazz-B waved the flame again. Toshiro hastily blocked it with an ice wall. No matter how much you resist that kind of thing, it will be instantly melted by my flames. What you are doing is just increasing the humidity here. Bazz-B narrowed his eyes and continued to yell. But Toshiro didn't panic at all, and his mind was a little bit close. At this time, Rangaku reported that the ordinary soldiers had already evacuated, and left in an instant. I'll help. Sorry to trouble you. Toshiro said in a deep voice, it's really hard to control the situation with me alone. When Toshiro is fighting, he will never let other people intervene, so Rangaku will either watch the battle from the sidelines or deal with other weak opponents. Asking for help, this is the first time she has seen her. Captain. Suddenly, Ju showed a very cute smile and looked at Tarang. What the hell? Seeing Rangaku's appearance, Toshiro rolled his eyes and asked in confusion, what's wrong? Nothing, haha, really nothing. Rangaku laughed out loud, and immediately said, Oh, it's not a bad thing to have Bankai taken away, because the captain who asks me for help is really cute. The captain is finally right. Girls in this world seem to be interested, so you don't have to be shy. 11. Hearing this, Toshiro trembled, and the corners of his mouth twitched violently. What, Matsumoto? Enough is enough. Seirei outside the video has already exploded. Ah, does Shiro have a girl he likes in this world? Hinamori Momo stared at Toshiro expectantly. Although Hinamori likes Aizen, but Toshiro is his childhood sweetheart. She regards Xiaobai as her younger brother. When Rangaku said that he has a relationship with a girl in this world, she immediately wanted to ask. So yes. Really, what type of girl does Captain Hitsugaya like, Loli, or Yuji? Jingle Chunchwi immediately became interested when he heard the words, and took off the hat directly. He looked at Toshiro, Kai Hao, helplessly. Toshiro was a little shy after being stared at, and after looking away, he said, What, Rangaku, don't talk nonsense, don't pretend to be interested in girls in this world. Smell. Rangaku suddenly laughed, glanced at Toshiro's shy look, bent down and said, "When you mention real girls, the captain is shy." Before Toshiro went to the world to perform a mission, Rangaku saw it. She was also invited to play football by Kurosaki Lee, and the real girl she said was Kurosaki Lee. "Yeah, it's fine if Captain Hitsugaya doesn't want to tell us." His face is turning red like an apple, which is pretty cute. Jingle Chunshui waved his hand. Only then did Toshiro sigh, thinking that the turmoil was over. In the video screen, Rangaku looked at Toshiro, who was about to jump up anxiously, and hurriedly said, Okay, it's time to FK. She unleashes Zanpakuto. Cry, Heineka. A large amount of smoke hit Bazz-B like a sandstorm. It's about to start, the Milfoy battle. Rangaku smiled. Toshiro glanced at Rangaku in disgust. What the hell, I don't remember taking such a name. But he still controls ice and snow. The next moment, the sand and dust controlled by Heineka instantly covered the ice layer, and a huge sand ice suddenly appeared, like an iceberg, which was shocking. But Bazz-B didn't care at all. In the final analysis, it's just an ice wall. What's the difference between this and the previous one? The flames slammed into the ice wall again. Heineka, house, lift. Suddenly, Rangaku cast Heineka's house. Zanpakuto turned into a mass of ash, forming a gray wall covering the ice wall. Boom. At this time, the flame also hit the ice wall, but the flame went out strangely, but the ice wall was intact. Why, the ice cube didn't melt. Bazz-B was stunned. He frowned, and observed carefully. No, the surface has already melted. What's going on? Seeing Bazz-B's ignorance, Toshiro snorted coldly. This is Vacuum Multi-Layer Wall. Chapter 74. Resist Yuanlujai's flames, burning fingers, seeking subscription. The vacuum multi-layer ice wall is a multi-layer wall made of Heineka's ash. The surface is covered with a thin ice wall, and then Heineka releases the Shikai state and returns to the scabbard. In this way, multiple vacuum ice walls are formed. My Hiranmaru is probably the Zanpakuto Shikai at the captain level with the smallest difference in ability between the Bankai and Shikai. Toshiro held Hiranmaru and said resolutely, the difference is only the amount of ice produced. In order to make up for the lack of Bankai being taken away, I have been honing the method of fighting with a small amount of ice, but if it is just to resist your flames, this level of ice, just right. After Bazz-B heard this sentence, he immediately felt a great insult. He frowned tightly and cursed with fierce eyes, damn brat, court death. He punched furiously, and his arm burning with red flames instantly produced a large amount of flames and rushed towards Toshiro. However, the moment the flame hit the vacuum ice wall, it went out immediately. Obviously, the vacuum ice wall can extremely restrain the invasion of flames to a certain extent. What a clever Captain Hitsugaya. Jingle Chunshui clapped his hands and applauded. Knowing your own ice wall is thin, creating multiple layers of separation through Matsumoto's sub-captain's Heineka, and then having Matsumoto's sub-captain to lift Zanpakuto Shikai, this creates a thick vacuum ice wall. This tactic worked perfectly. It not only strengthens the hardness of the ice wall, but also ignores the disadvantages of Toshiro's thin ice without Bankai. It's just the name of your combo. Isn't it too casual for the Battle of Milfoys? Jingle Chunshui couldn't help laughing. The corner of Toshiro's mouth twitched. He glanced at Rangaku coldly, and complained. This is not my name. Rangaku, please stop fooling around. It was not easy for the two to cooperate once. The name of the strategic method sounds too shameful. Rangaku didn't think so, and said with a smile. Captain, isn't the vacuum multi-layered ice wall very similar to the shape of Milfoy? Toshiro froze for a moment, as if that was the case. Invisible Empire. Bazz-B looked at Toshiro in the video fiercely, and complained. What the hell is the vacuum ice wall? Lousy doesn't care at all. But here's the fact, Bazz-B, you can't break through this ice wall, Bell said hopelessly. Bazz-B sneered, what you see with your eyes is not necessarily true. In the video screen, Bazz-B was stubborn and attacked with flames again, but he still couldn't break the ice wall. Didn't I say, you can never pass through? Toshiro stared at Bazz-B as if looking at a weak person. Your flame, never try to pass through this vacuum ice wall. At this time, he raised Hiranmaru, pointed the blade at Bazz-B, and said in a deep voice. Then, you will be killed by this vacuum ice blade. Thin ice, run through. In an instant, Hiranmaru penetrated the vacuum ice wall, and the ice wall turned into countless sharp ice thorns, pouring 390 times like a torrential rain, all piercing Bazz-B's chest. Kill him. Captain Hitsugaya won. The soldiers watching the battle from a distance shouted excitedly when they saw Bazz-B nailed to the wall by ice thorns. They ran to Toshiro and said, we can still fight, even without Bankai, we can fight the Quincy. They boasted so much that they thought everyone was just like Toshiro. Seirei outside the video. Isn't it? This guy is so fragile. I thought his scorching heat could be compared to that of Rukia's vice-captain Bankai Baishia, but he was beaten by Captain Hitsugaya without Bankai? Shubing sighed, could it be that without Bankai's Toshiro? Powerful? I thought Bazz-B was such a powerful expert, but he turned out to be a weak chicken. His attributes on the data panel are quite comprehensive. Could it be fake? Omeda also couldn't believe it. Judging from Bazz-B's performance, not to mention the 31st place, Yami, who is 41st, is better than him. Protest, this guy is not strong at all. Uri Taketsuna, the fifth member of the third team, directly expressed his dissatisfaction. Tobakushi Rikuo agrees. Beating us is nothing more than a sneak attack, it doesn't really have any strength. Kira turned her head to look at the two officers behind her, frowned and said, impossible, Bazz-B will never stop there. Bazz-B of the Invisible Empire also smiled, I haven't shown my true strength yet, and you guys are starting to celebrate the victory? In the video screen, on the other side of the battlefield, Sui Feng is fighting Quincy 9. At this time, Sui Feng was surrounded by Ryotsu like a whirlwind, and Ryotsu appeared like a pair of butterfly wings. My instant coaxing is wind, which is a technique that forms a multi-layered vortex around my body with each released Ryotsu. Once I activate this technique, instant coaxing can always accompany me in the battle. Sui Feng's eyes, suspended in midair, were as deep as a pool of water, flashing a kind of self-confidence from the heart. You should thank me, if you didn't take away my Bankai, I still don't know that Shuo Feng can advance to this level realm. Swish. Sui Feng's body turned into wind, and in the blink of an eye, he came to Baiji Nine's side, and his fist was already pounding on his chest. Infinite instant coax. Boom. Sui Feng's fist wind is like a bomb, directly causing a large-scale explosion, raising a destructive strong wind, and directly blowing Baiji 9 into the air. Seeing this scene, Sui Feng frowned, feeling very shocked. On the one hand, the information that his Bankai was taken away, and on the other hand, his instant coaxing can be released to such an extent? Instant coaxing is the fusion of white hits and keto. The user's back and shoulders will be wrapped with high-concentration compressed keto, and keto will become one with his own siblings through explosion. It is a very powerful fighting technique. But at this time, her level of instant coaxing is far from the level in the video. The captain is so powerful, he even directly defeated a Quincy. Omeda quickly boasted, that Quincy with the armor mask looks very strong, but I'm sorry, the captain is stronger. Sui Feng glanced at him angrily. In the picture, Toshiro feels the intense Ryotsu produced by Sui Feng, and looks into the distance. Captain Sui Feng, you have also defeated your opponent. Captain, the atmosphere is really good. Shall we go support the other captains? Rangaku turned to look at Toshiro, a little depressed. Toshiro's face didn't look happy. You're right, though, Toshiro frowned. At this moment, Bazz-B, who was nailed to the wall in the distance, suddenly spoke. Hey, don't say such things. Do you want to throw your sleeves and leave before the warm-up is over? I haven't yet. I'm going to fight you with my real skills. Bazz-B stepped out of the hole in the wall. Impossible, didn't you get torn apart by Captain Hitsugaya's ice? The team members who were clamoring for help just now panicked and said in a panic. Tear. Bazz-B lifted the cloak of the Legion, and said calmly. The only thing that was torn was the cloak, the only good piece of clothing of the Star-Crossed Knights, it was just torn to pieces. He tore off his cloak, threw it into the air, and burned Ki with flames. I just remember you saying, it's just against your flame, right? Let me tell you something. Bazz-B put one hand in his pocket, and raised the other hand with scorching heat. The members of the Star-Crossed Knights who were burned with flames by your captain are all alive, including me of course. We didn't avoid the flames, but burned by a direct hit. Why are we still alive? He gave Toshiro a provocative look. That's because I used my flame to offset the flame of your captain. Hearing this, Toshiro was startled suddenly, feeling extremely surprised. Toshiro outside the video is more shocking than himself in the video. Using flames to resist the flames of the captain? Isn't it too exaggerated? Toshiro thought that even if the three of them didn't die from the burning, a little damage from being blocked by Bazz-B would be enough to injure them severely. It turned out to be blocked. I guessed some facts, but it is really shocking to counteract the captain's flame. This kid was hit by Captain Hitsugaya's ice spike and he seemed to be fine. He didn't even cause any facial trauma. We underestimated him. Komamura-Sajin frowning, he looked at Tu Shilong. Thinking to myself, Toshiro is about to suffer another defeat. Return to the screen. Bazz-B put his hand on the wall, and with a bang, the wall was directly penetrated by flames. It's a pity that you don't have Bankai now. He shook his head. Your Bankai's ice can still freeze one of my fingers. Toshiro didn't want to listen to Bazz-B's nonsense, so he swung his knife and chopped off. An ice blade cut towards Bazz-B in an instant. Boom. The flames struck suddenly, melting all the ice blades. Bazz-B still stood where he was, didn't even move, the corner of his mouth twitched. You are not my opponent at all. Back down first, Matsumoto, readjust the corresponding strategy. I will hold him down first with the ice formation. Seeing that the situation was not good, Toshiro immediately ordered Rangaku. Rangaku obeyed the order and retreated first. The next moment, a wall of ice like a knitted sweater gathered in front of Toshiro. Do you have a lot of ideas for weaving thin ice into ice walls? Bazz-B raised his head and twisted his neck, raised his index finger, full of disdain. But I have to tell you, just rely on your ice. No matter what you do, it's only enough to freeze one of my fingers. Burning fingers, Bazz-B frowned suddenly, revealing his ferocious killing intent. He stretched out his index finger, where the scorching heat accumulated, and aimed at Toshiro. Boom. A fiery pillar of flame rushed out instantly, piercing Toshiro's chest. Toshiro didn't even have time to react, being south. Because, Burning Finger 1, the speed is simply too fast. Present world. The Kurosaki house. Kurosaki saw Lee's heart beat faster, and anxiety was about to burst from her heart. Is that Shinigami dying? Seirei, what just happened? Hinamori Momo's heart tightened, staring at Toshiro with bated breath. Bazz-B's blow was too fast, and it passed directly through Toshiro's chest. It was extremely lethal, and she couldn't help but think of Kira's chest piercing and amputation. The Burning Finger, isn't it just a bullet-shaped flame attack, and it can also create a pillar of fire that penetrates rapidly? Jingle Chunshui also looked confused. With such a speed, even Toshiro who was in the middle of the battle couldn't dodge, which shows that in terms of strength, Bazz-B crushed Toshiro. Damn, the ice wall is still too fragile without Bankai. Toshiro swallowed a mouthful of spit, and his burning fingers directly penetrated the ice formation on the edge wall and penetrated his body. If it is in the case of having Bankai, can the prismatic ice array really withstand the fire pillar? The Milfoy tactic that he cooperated with Rangaku just now is basically the strongest combination, and now he can't think of any way to deal with Bazz-B in front of him. Invisible Empire, Bazz-B chuckled lightly, his burning fingers almost killed you instantly, how can you resist in the future? Video painting in the face. The wounded Toshiro knew that he was no opponent, so he immediately began to shift tactics, turned around and ran away. Hey, you are the captain, how can you escape? Bazz-B chased and sarcastically. Naturally, Toshiro was not fooled, and turned back to release the ice wall to stop him, but Bazz-B also used one finger, and with a light swipe, the ice wall was cut in two. But suddenly, Bazz-B froze for a moment, feeling something was wrong. There was a lot of ice fog around him, he stopped and cursed. Is it ice fog this time? This kid really likes to do these little tricks, this little trick. Angrily shouted. Burning stomp. Boom. He condensed the scorching high temperature under his feet, stomped his feet violently, and the heat emitted instantly evaporated the surrounding ice mist. When the clouds and mist cleared, Bazz-B was stunned. Hitsugaya Toshiro was still standing in front. What are you standing in front of me? What are you planning? Bazz-B asked puzzled. He originally thought that Toshiro created the ice fog to escape, but he guessed wrong. Would you like to hide and think about countermeasures during the time when the ice mist is released? Yes, but there is no time to think about countermeasures at all. Toshiro nodded. A bright light flashed in his eyes, however, the trap is set. Prickly prickly. 6 ice cubes in the shape of snowflakes had already appeared around Bazz-B, generating a large amount of cold air and converging upwards into icicles. What is this? Bazz-B looked at the ice crystals stained in his hands, a little puzzled. Liuyi Bingjia formation. Suddenly, Toshiro roared angrily. In the formation formed by the 6 freezing points, an icicle with a diameter of 10 meters exploded and instantly solidified. However, the next second, boom, with a loud noise, the huge water column was directly smashed down. Toshiro was stunned in a daze, unable to believe what he saw. Nani? The captain's Liuyi Bingjia formation was destroyed in an instant. Rangaku's face turned black outside the video. You must know that the moves with formations are much stronger than ordinary moves. And the Liuyi Bingjia formation of this size couldn't even last a second? What kind of monster is Bazz-B, Captain Hitsugaya? Do you have any other tricks? Omeda swallowed and looked at Toshiro expectantly. The corner of Toshiro's mouth twitched, thinking that if there was Bankai, he could still unleash a few moves. But in Shikai's state, the move just now is already considered the strongest killer move. If these are useless to Bazz-B, the rest of the moves will only waste the effect of Ryotsu. At this moment, Tu Niang is at the end of her skills. In the picture, Bazz-B was a little speechless, looking at Toshiro and shaking his head. How many times do you want me to say it? Your rotten ice is only enough to freeze one of my fingers, or is it? You want to PS me off and make me use 2 fingers? Toshiro couldn't sit still and stepped forward with a knife. Burning fingers too. Bazz-B held out his middle finger. The violent explosion was like an atomic bomb falling, producing flames hundreds of meters high, and the fiery waves swept across the entire ice palace of Seirei in an instant. Click. The Zanpakuto in Toshiro's hand broke directly, and his body was also scratched with 2 scars from waist to shoulder. You don't need to be so ruthless, Bazz-B. At this moment, Kangdo's voice came. Didn't it be agreed at the beginning that whoever took away the Bankai of the captain will deal with that captain? Kangdo came over and said lightly, let me do the final blow. Because of this incident, the two had some disputes. Bazz-B turned his head and stared fiercely at Kangdo. Do you want to take advantage of this too? Kangdo, His Majesty will punish you. The matter of grabbing credit is originally envied by people, isn't this a pure human head dog? Kangdo glanced at Bazz-B and said in a self-indulgent manner, whoever took Bankai away, he will be the one to deal with it. This is up to His Majesty to decide. Although he was a little upset, Bazz-B had nothing to say when he heard that Kangdo moved out of Yuhabach, he just yelled. At this time, Kangdo began to pull from his arms, and suddenly, Rangaku was thrown out of his arms. Don't ask where it came from because this is a very serious moment. She's not far from here, I brought her here for you, she is your most important vice captain, so she should die together. I am Eye of the Star-Crossed Knights, the city of iron and steel, to live together, and even die together, this is my purpose. As Kangdu said, he took out the star badge and gave a low shout. Shie, Daigor and Hirenmaru. Chapter 75, Hollow Bankai, Kurosaki Isshin on the list, and Ichigo's identity exposed. Seeking subscription. Seeing this scene, everyone in Seireiti was already furious. Kira's eyes widened and he cursed angrily. This Quincy called Kangdu, the guy who took Hitsugaya's Captain Bankai away, is still thinking of making up for the knife, what a beast. It's really a villain to do this. If Captain Hitsugaya is killed by Bazz-B, then forget it. Kangdu can come and use Captain Hitsugaya's Daigor and Hirenmaru to hit the final blow. Isn't it too cheap? Shu Bing looked at Toshiro, although he felt sorry for him, but the anger on his face could not be suppressed. Toshiro didn't speak, thinking that it was over. Bazz-B's burning finger too, just crushed himself. What ability does he have against Kangdu who has Daigor and Hirenmaru? I'm curious, how did Vice Captain Matsumoto get thrown out of his arms by Kangdu? Does he have a treasure bag in his arms? Jingle cast a curious glance at Matsumoto Rangaku. The corner of Rangaku's mouth twitched, who knows? Invisible Empire. Bazz-B glared at Kangdu viciously, and cursed. You be asterisk 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 D. You didn't come here when Lousy was fighting, but you came here to grab the credit when I took the kill, right? Kangdu smiled cheaply, and raised his voice. Didn't I say that in the video, this kind of rule was made by His Majesty, and I just follow it. Hearing that Kangdu took out Yuhabach to press him again, Bazz-B almost wanted to eat him. But that's all, Toshiro is not his opponent at all. He can't even hold the burning finger 2, what can resist burning fingers 3 and 4? You must know that he also has the strongest ultimate move, Scorching Hell, using 5 fingers to create extreme flames. An opponent like Toshiro is not worthy of his trump card. For such a weak enemy, it would be good to die in the hands of Kangdu. In the video screen, Daigor and Hirenmaru. After Kangdu used Bankai, a pair of huge ice wings and a spine like dragon tail still appeared behind him. This is your Bankai. It's the first time you've seen someone else use it. It's a beautiful Bankai. Also, isn't this the one that was born with you? He said meanly. I regret from the bottom of my heart for taking the Bankai from you, which will exist forever after you die. Cang felt sorry for the fart, but just wanted to ridicule Toshiro. Gote 13 Captain, and Vice Captains, hello, I'm Urahara Kazuki. At this time, Urahara Kazuki's voice suddenly came from the sky. He used the sky to spread the word. I think there are still people who are meeting for the first time here, and those who don't know anything about me, please allow me to introduce myself later. While communicating, I have sent a black pill to everyone. Only those who have Bankai will have an effect on this pill. Also, it doesn't matter if it is a hand, a foot or a knife, please touch that pill. Absorbed from the point of touch, the pill can penetrate directly to the inner side of the soul. At the same time, a black pill appeared beside Toshiro. When he heard it, he immediately touched the pill with his fingertips. The shadow-invading medicine instantly turned into a golden light and merged into Toshiro's body. The principle of the pill is not complicated. The Quincy has no resistance to the void. Everything in the void is poison to the Quincy. If they are corroded by the void, not only will their spiritual power be weakened, but their souls will eventually collapse and die. Even a Hollow like Shinigami can't do it, so Quincy has to completely eradicate Hollow. In short, as long as you absorb a little Hollow's power and let Bankai have an instant Hollow, Bankai will become Quincy's poison, thus causing the opponent's Bankai to disintegrate and return to the captain's hands. Kurotsuchi Mayuri, who was outside the video, frowned immediately when he saw this, and complained. The pill that cracks the power of the star is actually developed by that B****************. D. It's really disgusting. It really is Kazuki. Jingle Chunshui touched the bamboo hat and smiled secretly. I thought Toshiro was saved now. Although the pill was made by Urahara Kazuki, I think you must have put a lot of effort into pinching the adults. Ni Yinmeng said. Of course, Kurotsuchi Mayuri knew that the pill must have been jointly developed by him and Urahara Kazuki. After all, Bankai was taken away by the Quincy division, the first time it happened in Seireiti. Kurotsuchi Mayuri knew about it earlier than Urahara Kazuki. But the final credit was taken by Urahara Kazuki, he was very upset. It doesn't matter who developed the pill anyway, as long as it succeeds in recapturing Bankai. Toshiro also didn't want Toshiro to die at the hands of his own Bankai. In the video screen, after Toshiro used the shadow-invading medicine, the icy wings on the back of Daigor and Hirenmaru and Kangdu collapsed instantly, falling to the ground and turning into ice slag. What's going on? What happened? Kangdu looked at the ice residue with a blank expression on his face. A good Bankai. Why did it collapse? However, at this time, Toshiro stood up again. Icewing has appeared from behind, and he has retaken Bankai. There is nothing wrong with the star, but why did Bankai start to come back to you gradually? What did you do? Kangdu took out the star medal and checked it, and found any problems. Who knows? Toshiro held Zanpakuto, and said coldly, maybe it's Hirenmaru himself who wants to come back to me, isn't it? Don't underestimate people. Do you think that after we get Bankai, we will not conduct manipulation training? Although Bankai's power has been taken away in half, Kangdu still has his own power. A steel claw knife appeared on the arm, and it slammed towards Terang. A blade of ice cut out quickly, and Toshiro turned his back to avoid it easily. Don't embarrass me, how can my own moves attack me? Kangdu was very displeased with Toshiro's tone, kicked him away, but was blocked by Bing Yi. Just now, please don't act like you know Bankai very well, okay? Kangdu intensified his attack, breaking through the ice wall of Toshiro with a heavy falling attack, and then lifted him up into the sky, and said viciously, "Pantheism is not for me." He immediately jumped into the air, ready to chase. Although Toshiro lost his center of gravity, he didn't look seriously injured at all. You say I don't understand Bankai? Are you serious? Toshiro was speechless. Who is the master of Daigor and Hiranmaru, is it not clear? Ah, it seems that he really thinks so. Hiranmaru's voice came from Toshiro's ear. It's been a long time since I heard your voice, Bingwa. Toshiro smiled and slammed the knife. Bankai's power has fully returned. The ice dragon hovered above his head, dominating the crowd. And, on Toshiro's face, a mask appeared, which means, this is no ordinary Bankai, but a post-hollow Bankai. Seirei. Interesting. Kurotsuchi Mayuri looked at Toshiro's Bankai, and felt extremely excited. Captain Hitsugaya's Bankai is actually hollow. The power of Shu is the natural enemy for Quincy, and the pill is probably based on this principle, so that Bankai can be regained. Rangaku also straightened his eyes. Captain, Bankai in this state of yours is not so cute anymore, on the contrary, he feels a little evil. With virtual power attached, it certainly looks evil. Toshiro curled his lips. Although he doesn't want to use Shu's power, it seems that he is quite handsome in this state. In the video screen, Kangdu also found that his wings had completely disappeared and fell downwards. Hateful. He frowned, his expression was flustered, and his claws and blades joined together, posing in the shape of Kamihai Chigung. Snake Claw. 2 claw strikes struck instantly. But Toshiro didn't give him time to perform, holding Hiranmaru to Kangdu. Flower of the Cross. The huge ice cross is like a cross, freezing Kangdu to death. Sorry, I didn't fight you with the pentagram, Toshiro said, slowly putting away Zanpakuto. Bazz-B on the side watched the appearance of the ice cross, with a speechless expression on his face. What kind of plane? What did you say to let you come? But in the end, you were beaten to death by others. It's really embarrassing. The video playback ends here. Invisible Empire. Ha ha ha. Kangdu continues to snatch my head. You don't know how to die now, do you? Bazz-B laughed at Kangdu. Toshiro after Hollow Bankai was somewhat beyond Barbie's expectations, and it was normal to defeat such rubbish as Kangdu. But this level can only freeze 2 of his fingers. The corner of Kangdu's mouth twitched, his face was as black as charcoal, and he wanted to find a hole to get in immediately. It's too embarrassing, just take the credit and forget it. Bazz-B gave in, but was killed by 2, who was seriously injured. He was terrified now, for fear that Yuhabach would come over and kill him directly. The Invisible Empire cannot afford to lose this man. Seirei, seeing Toshiro defeating Kangdu, Rangaku suddenly became excited. I thought that after Toshiro was injured, even if Bankai was taken back, it would be a bit difficult to deal with the Quincy. But unexpectedly, more than enough. Is the captain still in pentagram form? She looked at Toshiro eagerly. Because even a 4-pointed star is enough to instantly kill Quincy, isn't a pentagram even stronger? Toshiro smiled. Yes. Although he knows that he is not a fully liberated Bankai now, but Daigor and Hiranmaru's true posture when the ice is gone, but the current him is far from reaching that level. It really is a genius, Captain Hitsugaya. Jingle Chunshui smiled at Toshiro. This kind of hollow Bankai, even Bazz-B is no match, right? No. Toshiro shook his head. The scorching ability restrains my eyes to a certain extent, and Bazz-B didn't show his real power, or in other words, he's not limited to burning fingers too. 0. Ask for flowers. Even the complete Eucharist form has not been opened. Bazz-B is indeed much stronger than that villain Kangdu, but Captain, you don't have to be so humble. Rangaku bent down, leaned close to Toshiro's ear, and said softly. Old Toshiro blushed. I don't underestimate the enemy. With the end of Bazz-B's inventory, the 30th place ranking appeared on the big screen. The 30th place in the battle list, Kurosaki Isshin. Name. Kurosaki Isshin influence. Present world identity, Shinigami, formerly. Ability. The Last Crescent Moon X, 89 defense, 89. Speed. 89 intelligence, 90 vitality, 91 ryatsu, 89. Keto. 87 combat power, 780,000. The 30th is Kurosaki Isshin? The Kurosaki house. Kurosaki Sha Li was startled. His father is a Shinigami, which has already surprised him, but he still appears on the combat power list. And it's the 30th. You must know what the concept of the 30th place is. How many demons and ghosts are there? Baragan, who controls aging, Kamishini no Yari, who corrodes cells and is highly toxic, and Buzz, who kills a child with one shot. Compare. Father, is it stronger than them? Kurosaki even felt dazzled. Dad is so invincible, I really can't believe it, it's hidden too deep. Uncle ranks so high. The living Inoue or Hime people are dumbfounded. 0. I usually see Kurosaki Isshin's appearance, but I don't think he is a strong man. Kurosaki Ichigo was also scratching his head depressed. I don't know either. If it wasn't for the ranking exposure, I wouldn't even know he is Shinigami. You were lucky, kid, to have such a powerful father, Renji snorted coldly. Ichigo glanced at him angrily. Is this stuff considered luck? Seirei, Kurosaki Isshin. What does this person have to do with Captain Shiba? Toshiro's eyes widened suddenly. Is the original captain, Shiba Isshin, the same person as this Kurosaki Isshin? Look at the properties panel. The identity is Shinigami, and it especially emphasized that it is the original Shinigami. Isn't this very in line with Shiba's heart? Could it be Captain Shiba? Rangaku looked at Toshiro, scratched his head, very surprised. Kurosaki Isshin, Kurosaki Ichigo. Could it be that Kurosaki Ichigo is the son of Kurosaki Isshin? Rukia pursed her lips. Vice Captain Rangaku, everyone can tell, and Kurosaki Isshin is what you called Captain Shiba. When Rukia was in the present world, she often lived in Kurosaki's house, so she knew a little about Kurosaki Isshin. When Kurosaki Isshin appeared in the video as Shinigami, Rangaku said it was Captain Shiba, and she knew the answer. Yeah, Kurosaki Ichigo turns out to be Captain Shiba's child. Jingle Chunshui shook his head, feeling a little shocked. No wonder that kid has so much energy in his body, it turns out he has Shinigami genes. Ha ha ha, interesting, doesn't that mean that Kurosaki Ichigo is half a Shinigami? Zaraki Kenpachi laughed. Shiba Iksan's strength is good, and his son's potential is definitely great. He instantly wanted to fight Kurosaki Ichigo again. After Captain Shiba disappeared, he hid in the present world, and even changed his surname. Toshiro was surprised. Rukongai, Shiba home. Shiba Kuzuru stared blankly at the names on the list. He guessed that Kurosaki Isshin was Shiba Iksan. Uncle, are you actually in this world? Shiba Kurosaku frowned and murmured, and, is Kurosaki Ichigo your son? At this time, Shiba Ganju suddenly rushed into the gate of the mansion. Big sister, did you see that Kurosaki Isshin is probably uncle? He yelled at Shiba Kuzuru. Instead of getting a response from Shiba Kong, he was greeted with a punch in the face. B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** stammered. In this way, Kurosaki Ichigo is my cousin? Ah, that guy Kurosaki Ichigo is my younger brother? Shiba Gansu covered his bleeding nose with surprise on his face, but he understood after thinking about it carefully. Kurosaki Ichigo is his cousin. My stupid brother. Shiba Ganju shook his head. Big sister, why do you think we have such a brother? Cang Yi glared at him. Isn't it good to have multiple brothers? Ichigo doesn't look like you. Hearing this, Shiba Yanluan's face turned dark immediately, full of grievances. When Shen Yen didn't confirm his identity, I didn't see you being so partial to Kurosaki Ichigo. 3. Chapter 76. The bull's head reappears. Kurosaki Ichigo is stunned, seeking subscription. At this point, the video has started to play on the big screen. Captain. Where are you, Captain? Matsumoto Rangaku's voice echoed throughout the Juban team building. Vice Captain Matsumoto is looking for the captain again. It's been so hard every day. Seeing Rangaku's anxious look, the team members complained one after another. At this moment, Rangaku's eyes tightened, and he said to the team player next to him, lend me the plate. The team member froze for a moment, but still handed the plate to Nan. Captain, I found you. Rangaku threw the plate violently and hit a tree not far away. Kurosaki Isshin fell from the tree. Okay, hit. Rangaku put his hands on his hips and smiled contentedly. It's a pity. I caught it, so I missed it. Kurosaki Isshin grabbed the plate in front of him with both hands, very proud. But at this moment, Rangaku kicked over, and Kurosaki Isshin split open like a plate. Broken. My strong nose is broken. I have to rest today. Kurosaki Isshin screamed in pain, pretending. Okay, come back with me and work obediently. Rangaku looked at Kurosaki Isshin angrily. Seirei, Ichigo's father, his status in the team is so low. Rukia looked at Rangaku, scratched the back of his head and smiled silly. Rangaku responded with an awkward smile. Captain Shiba's character is like this, he is often lazy, and he can't find anyone. I am merciful enough to do this. Toshiro nodded, agreeing with Rangaku. Rangaku is right. In the video screen, Kurosaki Isshin rubbed his nose, quickly got up and returned the plate to the team member, and said very apologetically, I'm so sorry, it's all Rangaku's fault, it broke. Don't always blame others, blame the captain for being lazy and running around, right? The corner of Rangaku's mouth twitched, and he continued to complain. Really, although it is a collateral lineage, but the patriarch of the Shiba family has such a virtue, the clan will feel shameful, show me some seriousness. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was outside the video, froze for a moment. 9:40. Rangaku said that Kurosaki Isshin is from the Shiba family, and also called him Captain Shiba? Could it be that Dad's surname was originally Shiba? Then, what do Shiba Kuzuru and Shiba Ganju have to do with me? In the video. Oh, it's useless even if you take down the family's big hat. The reason why you let me work is to reduce your own work, and then sneak out to play. Kurosaki Isshin chuckled, seeing through Rangaku's intentions. Rangaku was a little embarrassed. Yixin pouted at the corner of his mouth, and said like teasing a child. I saw through it. I found out a long time ago, you actually increased my workload secretly, what a terrible strategy, which, devil, very scary. Ah, it's so annoying. Seeing that his strategy was exposed, Rangaku immediately rolled up his sleeves and shouted. Rangaku. Kurosaki Isshin roared violently, yes yes. After all, he is the captain. After hearing the shout, Guo Nan replied immediately. Thanks to your hard work looking for me today, my chest is sweaty now, which is great, said while staring at Rangaku's hump. Rangaku froze for a moment, then punched Kurosaki Isshin in the face again. A punch isn't enough. It hurts, I was wrong. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo is stupid. Was dad so coquettish when he was young? Still staring at Rangaku's hump. Although it is indeed very attractive, it can't be said clearly. Ichigo, your father seems to be an ISP. Renji glanced at Ichigo, and said with a smile on his lips. Ahem. Ichigo pretended to cough twice. At this moment, he was a little embarrassed. His father's face was thrown on his son. Seirei. Ha ha ha, Captain Shiba is still as naughty as ever. Jingle Chunhui smiled lightly, and then turned his gaze to Rangaku's hump. In my mind, it is quite attractive without sweat. Kira also looked at Rangaku. Vice Captain Matsumoto increased the intensity of work for Captain Shiba in order to lighten his own workload. You guys are half a catty. Rangaku smiled wryly. Forget about the past, invisible empire. What the hell, such an incomprehensible person can be ranked in front of me. Bazz-B bared his teeth, and the anger was vividly displayed on his face. The more out of the ordinary people may sell more, Bazz-B. Hasward looked at Bazz-B indifferently. Shout, it's only half-baked. Bazz-B was not convinced. Juban team. You guys are so slow, the files are done. Toshiro took out a stack of files and handed them to Kurosaki Isshin. At this time, Yixin had already been beaten up by Rangaku, his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he looked so bad that people couldn't help laughing. Woohoo! Seeing the completed documents, Kurosaki Isshin rushed to Toshiro, clamped his hands on his body, and hugged him directly. Admired. You are really capable, Toshiro, you are worthy of being the next captain. Etc. Rangaku was stunned for a moment, and quickly reasoned and complained. Shouldn't I be the next captain? In terms of rank. Now she is the vice captain, and Toshiro is the third seat, just one rank above him. What are you talking about? Kurosaki Isshin turned his head, looked at Rangaku as if he was a muggle, and said, if you were to be the captain, the Juban team would collapse. Toshiro followed Yixin's words and complained. That's right, and my Bankai is also practicing very well, and I have no problem being the captain. Seeing this, Rangaku immediately scolded. B************* D Toshiro, you are still helping me. As she said that, she ran over and pinched Toshiro's face with both hands like a rubber. Toshiro outside the video ushered in the moment of social death. Haha, Xiaobai was so cute before he became the captain, Hinamori smiled slightly. Although she and Toshiro are childhood sweethearts, they are not in the same team. This is the first time she has seen Toshiro who was bullied by Rangaku. Old Toshiro blushed. Who made Rangaku my superior at that time? And he is young, it is normal for Rangaku and Kurosaki Isshin to treat him like a child. It would be great if we had a member like Captain Hitsugaya in our team, it would be so interesting. Jingle Chunhui glanced at Nanao, and then said. There are always people who don't understand the style. Nanao closed her eyes and shook her head, feeling a little headache. To a certain extent, the characters of Jingle Chunhui and Kurosaki Isshin are very similar. Back to the screen. Toshiro suddenly became serious, Wei reported. Speaking of which, here is a report that I am very concerned about. He pulled out a list of casualty reports from the file. It was a report from 2 months ago. Kurosaki Isshin also became serious, and asked Toshiro. Do you still remember? In a medium-sized city called Naruki, Shinigami who was in charge there died in an accident 2 months ago, Toshiro recalled. It seems that there is such a thing, the reason is still under investigation. I just sent an additional report on this matter last month. The reason is still not found out, and 2 more died last month. Hearing this, Kurosaki Isshin turned around abruptly, and rushed out without saying a word. Captain, where are you going? Rangaku asked in surprise. Investigate, I'll leave it to you later. Kurosaki Isshin raised his hand, intending to say goodbye to the two. Now, let the captain go alone? Rangaku wondered. I think the captain is too messy, shouldn't he report something to the chief captain? I'll be back the day after tomorrow, and tomorrow's work is up to you guys. Yixin turned his head and pointed 2 guns at the two with his fingers. Huh? Rangaku was stunned for a moment, and started to chase him. Hurry up and chase him, Toshiro. Toshiro did not act. Don't go. The captain felt that this investigation was too dangerous, so he went alone. I also understand this kind of thing, so it should be more. That's why we should stay here even more now. You should understand that with our strength, we can only hold back the captain. The Kurosaki house. Seeing Rangaku and Toshiro, Kurosaki Isshin felt nostalgic for the old days. Father, although you are acting like a fool, you are still quite handsome when you turn around and leave the investigation work. Kurosaki Shiali gave a thumbs up and gave Kurosaki Isshin a thumbs up. Of course, your dad used to be the captain of the 10th Division. Shout, come on, if mom knows that you look at other people's grandma, she will never forgive you. Kurosaki Shiali gave him a white look. A blow to the head made Kurosaki Isshin's majestic appearance disappear instantly, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Don't talk nonsense, kid. The video screen turns. In the mysterious laboratory, several people are conducting some kind of experiment. Suddenly a person walked in the door. How's the result? Aizen asked as soon as he entered the door. Ichimaru Jin told him that the experiment didn't yield any results. Unfortunately, although Shu has successfully possessed the ability of the hollow target, the toxicity is too strong, not to mention ordinary souls. Even the souls of the guards can't bear it. Tusen Kanami said sitting in front of the computer screen. Really? Aizen approached and said softly, it doesn't matter. I have gradually figured out where Hiriko Shinji and his group are. While luring them out, they can also carry out the hollow experiment. It really kills two birds with one stone. Be patient, Silver, repeatedly. Everything is under our control. At this time, is Tusen already a member of Aizen? Komamura Sajin clenched his fists and frowned tightly. After taking stock of Ichimaru Jin, Komamura Sajin realized that he had a purpose in approaching Aizen in the first place. But why did Tusen Kanami join Aizen so early? Is it just the pursuit of strength? Such an absurd reason. All these years, Aizen has been researching Hollow. That's his secret laboratory. Kurotsuchi Mayuri secretly smiled, thinking that he has been researching for so long, but he still hasn't succeeded. If it were me, I'm afraid I would have succeeded long ago. Yeah, everything is under control. Aizen is playing a big game. Jingle Chunshui shook his head. In the video, Kurosaki Isshin has come to Naruki City. From time to time, the clouds are thinning. It's such a nasty feeling. The guy before, and the guy before that all died in the rain. It's terrible. Stop talking about it, okay? Shinigami guarding Naruki City was a little scared. Really, rainy days are dangerous. Kurosaki Isshin's voice came suddenly. He heard the conversation between the two just now clearly. Captain Shiba. The Shinigami team members were shocked. This place does not belong to the category of the management of the 10th squad. Why does the captain of the 10th squad appear? Does that mean I came at the right time? Kurosaki Isshin folded his hands on his chest and said calmly. Why are you here? Ah. Yixin was stunned for a moment, and quickly found an excuse. I was looking for a toilet and got lost accidentally. He himself felt that this lie was too absurd. By the way, if it rains tonight, you should go back quickly. Kurosaki Isshin suddenly became serious and said in a deep voice, it will bother me. The team members looked a little embarrassed, but what they didn't know was that a figure had slowly emerged from the clouds in the sky. At the same time, in a mansion in Karakura town in the distance. How's the school? Masaki. At the dining table, Ishida Yosemigu and Kurosaki Masaki. Masaki was stunned for a moment, then stopped eating, and replied with a smile. Every day is very happy, auntie. I'm not asking how you're doing, but how is your school? Ishida Yichung asked. How about Shenglian? Hearing this, Masaki immediately felt ashamed. Shenglian, that's so-so. What's so-so? Do you understand your position? My parents passed away, and I don't even have a few brothers and sisters. I took in you, the only one left in the Kurosaki family, based on the friendship of the Quincy Master, Ishida Yichung said angrily. I understand, meat is delicious, hee. The words came in from Masaki's left ear and out of the right ear, and she couldn't answer the words, so she had to eat to cover up her embarrassment. Just when Ishida Yichung was about to continue to reprimand Masaki, she was interrupted by the sound of mother. The young Ishida Ryushin pushed the door and came. Please don't do this, I heard it from outside. Seeing his son appeared to smooth things over, Ishida Yichung stopped being aggressive, and left after explaining a few words to Long Xian. After watching Ishida Yichung leave, Long Xian immediately apologized to Masaki. His mother was easily angry because he hadn't seen his father for many years. Masaki completely understands, after all, she is dependent on others, how could she complain? Then he was ready to go back to his room to rest. Before leaving, he walked up to Long Xian and smiled softly. By the way, today's salt-baked shrimp is delicious. If Xiaolong doesn't eat it, I can help you eat it. Good night. Then Masaki waved his hand and left. Seeing this scene, Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Uryu in this world were shocked at the same time. Isn't that mom? Isn't that my father? The two spoke in unison. Sato and the others on the side didn't know who they were calling, and looked at them suspiciously. Uryu and Ichigo also stared at each other with wide eyes. That white-haired one is your father? Ichigo asked. Yulong didn't answer, but asked instead, is that woman your mother? Ichigo nodded, a little incredulous. If he is your father, why did my mother know your father? And the two looked so close, more like a couple. Yulong stroked her eyes. Didn't she hear that she was an adopted Quincy? Suddenly, as if he realized something, his pupils narrowed suddenly, and he stared at Ichigo. If she is your mother is Quincy 1.7, and you should be Quincy 2. As soon as the words came out, Ichigo froze in place like a stone statue. My mother is a Quincy, and so am I. A Quincy? He couldn't believe that his mother, who was usually extremely gentle, was actually a Quincy Master. His father is a Shinigami and his mother is a Quincy. Shouldn't they be opposite sides? Why? Ichigo is completely stupid, and if he is a Quincy, why doesn't he have the ability of a Quincy? It's a surprise that Ichigo's mother met Uryu's father. Inoue Orihime stared at the two with wide eyes. The elders seemed so harmonious, why do their children always have troubles? Renji was taken aback. Could it be? Ichigo and Uryu are brothers, right? Captain Shiba is just a cover? Ichigo and Yulong said in unison again. Impossible, stop guessing, UB***************. However, the screen changed. In Naruki City, the expected heavy rain finally started. They were tensely guarding their surroundings, but the two Shinigami who were driven away were entangled, and they would be punished if they went back without authorization, so they hid aside and observed the situation. At this time, Yixin muttered, did the guy who was staring at Shinigami have a problem with Shinigami, or did he react to the high Ryotsu? In the choice, he chose to use Ryotsu to lure the enemy. After finishing speaking, intense Ryotsu at the captain level erupted around him. Wow, is this the Ryotsu of Captain Shiba? It's amazing. The team members felt incredible while under tremendous pressure. Suddenly, two screams sounded, and Yixin hurriedly looked, only seeing the two bloodlines on the ground. He already understood in his heart that the dead were the two soldiers just now. Damn, no response to Ryotsu's sighs. Yixin immediately prepared to rush over, but at this moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared. Seeing this black shadow, everyone outside the video couldn't help feeling tense. Isn't this Niutouxu? Chapter 77. Named Zubai. The awe of a purebred Quincy Master, seeking subscription. Present world. Inoue Orihime stared at Kurosaki Ichigo silently. Because when he fought Ulquiorra last time, the complete hollow bullhead state that appeared made him unacceptable. Obviously, Yushido at that time was no longer the consciousness of Kurosaki Ichigo. In other words, although Yushido's body belonged to Ichigo, the person was no longer Kurosaki Ichigo. Why is there a bullhead with a very similar shape in the video? Could it be Kurosaki-san? Inoue Orihime asked with great surprise on his face. Kurosaki Ichigo froze on the spot, but turned his head and thought. This can't be me, obviously this is the period when Dad was still Shinigami, I didn't exist at all. As soon as the words came out, he felt very contradictory. Since he was not born at the beginning, why did Niutouxu appear? Moreover, why does the energy in one's own body manifest itself and give birth? For a moment, all the questions came to my mind, could it be the white self inside me? But you see, although Ichigo can also turn into a bullhead, he still has human characteristics, but the one who turns his head in the video is actually black all over, as if he glanced at a layer of black armor. After observing carefully, Sato spoke. Moreover, the chest of the black bull's head does not have a hole that symbolizes the hole, but it is like a red meatball, and the hair is also white. There are also the same kind of ghosts. Maybe the bullhead in the picture is the one in Kurosaki's body, a distant relative? Inoue Orihime's playful analysis made everyone laugh. What a distant relative. The Kurosaki house. After Kurosaki Isshin saw Niutouxu, his heart tightened. He knew in his heart that the complete hollow that Ichigo once appeared was the power of this Niutouxu in the video. Seirei. A team house. Looking at the figure of Niutouxu, Yamamoto Genryuzai couldn't help frowning. He has some understanding of Niutouxu's situation, and Shiba had reported the situation to him wholeheartedly. He didn't take it seriously, and Shiba Yixin disappeared shortly after. Reminiscent of Kurosaki Ichigo, Yamamoto's eyes darkened, and he murmured. Aizen, is this your plan too? This one is somewhat similar to Kurosaki Ichigo's bullhead, but it's not clear how he has this ability. Kurotsuchi Mayuri shook his head. When Shiba focused on reporting the situation, he was also beside him. Now it is basically confirmed that Kurosaki Ichigo is the subject of Aizen's 04 experiment, but even if it is hollow, what the hell is it to become hollow? Even the mad scientist Kurotsuchi Mayuri can't figure it out. Void Night Palace. Ulquiorra saw the appearance of the bull's head, his face remained calm, but his heart was already ups and downs. The picture of how I was abused by Niutouxu is vivid in my mind. Thought. Is this also Master Aizen's experimental subject? Why did Kurosaki Ichigo evolve into this state? Ulquiorra, are you familiar with it? Your returning blade's second stage was completely abused by this guy, and you didn't even have the slightest chance to fight back. Grimjow sneered, staring at Ulquiorra sarcastically. Ulquiorra showed indifference, but said, no matter who among you, under Niutouxu's hands, they are all vulnerable. That is Master Aizen's supreme masterpiece. In the past, Ulquiorra would never have said such a thing. But after seeing the video of himself being tortured and killed by turning his head, he was completely convinced. HMPH, you can't do it yourself, don't say others can't do it. Okay, Stark can definitely defeat it, Lillinette snorted softly. Baragan nodded and agreed. You don't even look, who is the king of Hueco Mundo? The video screen continues to play. Yixin also found Niutouxu under the heavy rain. He stared at the black shadow, and frowned. What is this guy, Black Shu? Because the whole body is black, it is called Zubai. After waiting for Niutouxu to turn his head, Yixin saw its appearance clearly. There is a virtual mask on the face, the red pupils are as evil as Shinigami, there are a pair of sharp horns like bullhorns beside the ears, and even the hands are in the form of blades. This is not fiction, what is it? After Niutouxu found Yixin, he immediately opened his mouth wide and let out a deafening roar. This is no ordinary growl, but with sharp Ryotsu attached. Kurosaki Isshin was buoyed by the mighty Ryotsu. It is even stronger than the Ryotsu that I released just now by luring Shu. He involuntarily held the Zanpakuto around his waist. I see, the whole body is black, and the hole is sealed by something, but Ryotsu is really fake. Why? While thinking, Niutouxu came suddenly. Pull out Zanpakuto decisively and fight it. And in the secret laboratory at the far end, Aizen watched the battle in front of a big screen. Scared me. Aizen was a little surprised. Isn't this the captain of the 10th squad? Why did it appear there? Ichimaru Jin on the side was also surprised. I didn't receive the attack report from above, so I just acted without permission. This is a big problem. Aizen turned his head slightly and looked at Ichimaru Jin. Isn't this just an unexpected gain? He immediately asked Husen Kanami and Ichimaru Jin, who were in charge of monitoring, to find a way, and he wanted to observe closely. Present world. Sure enough, it's that B************ D Aizen. He created the bull's head, and there is no hole in his chest. Maybe it's some special one. Ichigo gritted his teeth. Everything Aizen has done, including taking away Hogyoku, and testing himself as a test subject, is disgusting to him. Yushito's explosive power doesn't seem to be weaker than Kurosaki Uncle. According to the previous battle of Kurosaki's transformation into Yushito, Kurosaki Uncle is probably not the opponent. Inoue or Hime is worried about this. Ichigo didn't know that. Now he just hopes that Kurosaki Isshin won't get hurt too badly. As for defeating Niutouxu, he never thought about it. In the video screen, the appearance of Yushito made Masaki, who was far away in Karakura town, aware of the abnormality. As a purebred Quincy, she has a high sensitivity to Ryotsu. Sticking to the window looking out at the torrential rain, there is an unusually large Ryotsu moving here, Shu and another. Thinking about it, Masaki didn't hesitate, opened the door and ran out. But before he took 2 steps, Ishida Uryu stopped him. Where are you going, Masaki? Give up. You don't need to ask Long Xian to know Masaki's purpose. Little dragon. Masaki didn't understand what Long Xian meant, and looked at Long Xian with pleading eyes. How many times do you have to tell me to understand that when Shinigami dies, it's our Quincy's turn to come out, and even if we attack, we only need to hand over Katagira and the other half-breed Quincy. Masaki, you have to think carefully, you have to pay more attention to yourself, think about your position, we purebred extermination masters, shouldn't bleed easily. Pure-blooded Quincy and mixed-blooded Quincy. Kurosaki Ichigo outside the video was confused by this concept. He didn't know much about Quincy at first, but now this concept appears again? Turning his head to ask Yulong, he found that Yulong was stunned in place, like a stone statue. Soon, Yulong regained his composure and straightened his glasses frame. Katagira is his mother. Compare the attitude of Ishida Ryuzuru. Masaki and Katagira are so different? Perhaps this is the most essential difference between a pure-blooded Quincy Master and a mixed-blooded Quincy Master. Although he is also a mixed-blood Quincy himself, he survived under the sanctification of Yuhabach, and he is destined to be extraordinary. Return to the screen. Yixin's situation was very bad, and he was even suppressed by Shengmaishu. Niutouxu didn't think too much, and charged again like lightning. He focused on holding the knife to block, and the crisp sound of the blades colliding made him feel more and more guilty. He thought that although this guy of unknown origin looked weird in appearance, he still maintained a false carrier, but in terms of fighting skills, he seemed to be a same with Shinigami. If it is completely empty, maybe there is still a chance, but now this kind of combination is very difficult to deal with. At this time, another Shinigami appeared in the distance. Captain Shiba, what are you doing here? The Karakura area is under the jurisdiction of the 12th team. Oda ran over and shouted. Only then did Yixin realize that he had crossed the line, and he and Niutouxu fought from Naruki City to Karakura town. After pushing back Niutouxu again, Niutouxu changed his target and aimed at the newly arrived Shinigami. Oops, run away. He wanted to remind the team members wholeheartedly, but it was too late. Acero had been condensed from the 2 horns of Niutouxu. Boom. The scarlet light exploded suddenly, making an extremely loud noise. Masaki in the distance also heard the big explosion, and after a little hesitation, she resolutely left Ishida's house. Wait, Masaki. Long Xian wanted to stop. Xiaolong, you will consider your aunt, you will consider the Quincy Master, and you will consider many things in the future before taking action. I think such a small dragon is very good, but I am not a small dragon. To me, the so-called to love yourself is to do what you can do now. Masaki turned her head to look at Long Xian, with a heroic spirit exuding from her brows. If you obey the command, don't do what you can do, and don't save others, tomorrow's Masaki will never forgive herself. So she chooses to fight. After Long Xian was silent for a few seconds, he also made up his mind, and said to the maid behind him, Katagira, let's go, prepare the spirit device. Present world. Ichigo's face was full of pride, his own mother's bravery touched him. Although when Masaki was alive, Ichigo didn't know that his mother had this side, or even any of her past, but his mother's tenderness was imprinted in Ichigo's heart. Of course, besides tenderness, there is also courage now. Kurosaki's mother is amazing. Inoue Orihime looked at the beautiful and somewhat playful girl in the video eagerly, and even saw his own shadow in Kurosaki Masaki. If she was in the situation at that time, she would have rushed out without hesitation like Masaki did. Ichigo scratched his head and smiled at Orihime. Of course, but my mother. Seirei. Okay, Captain Shiba, I didn't expect to be missing for so many years. You went to live freely in this world and abandoned us. You are so cruel. Rangaku glanced at him and complained. Jingle shook his head. It seems that Captain Shiba is fascinated by Kurosaki Masaki, who doesn't like a girl who is brave enough to do justice. That's right, if Masaki Kurosaki hadn't rushed there, Captain Shiba probably wouldn't be able to return to Seirei after that battle, Toshiro said lightly. Rangaku laughed. Captain, if you can talk more. Yixin in the video screen barely defended Sero. He was sweating coldly, wiped off the sweat mixed with rain, and murmured. Was that move just now, Sero? Are you kidding? It's not fake, it's the Manos Grande way of fighting. He attacked forward again with the horizontal knife, but was easily blocked by Niutouxu with one hand. Hey, it's impossible for a monster like you not to attract the attention of the Soul Society. Someone must have concealed your existence. Who ordered it? Niutouxu would definitely not talk to him. Yixin was a little angry. It doesn't matter if you say it or not, as long as you are dealt with here. He holds Zanpakuto tightly in both hands. Burn it, and Jetsu. Boom. A heat wave like a fire tornado swept over in an instant. That's the end of the fun. Just as the flames hit Niutouxu, he suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his back, and naturally, his attack just now was also suspended. At this time, 3 people in black clothes wrapped their bodies airtightly, hanging in midair. That knife just now was stabbed by Aizen, Seirei. It can perfectly cover Ryatsu's coat, so that Captain Shiba didn't notice it at all. Obviously, these 3 people are Aizen and the others. Toshiro stared. Just gather some Kido power on the coat and you can blend your figure into the scenery imperceptibly. As Toshiro, who doubted Aizen from the very beginning, he was not surprised. Even when Aizen defected, he should have thought about it, but it was too long, and he didn't think about it. Sneak attack from behind, what a sinister villain. Rukia also scolded, although he had no special feelings for Kurosaki Isshin, but he was also Kurosaki Ichigo's father anyway. Aizen in the picture chuckled. This is the coat that Urahara Kazuki wore when he was fighting him. Great gift left behind, Urahara Kazuki, he smiled secretly. Over there, even though Yixin was stabbed, he didn't find out who was attacking him. However, the attack just now was not caused by false, but by Zanpakuto, which Kurosaki Isshin could feel. Someone is behind all this. Who is it? You are hiding there, get out of here. Yixin suddenly shouted towards the sky. Ichimaru Jin did not expect Yixin to be so sensitive, and praised Yixin. Aizen didn't say much, turned his head and prepared to leave. Is it enough? Don't wait any longer? Silver was still a little worried. Shiba's single-minded Bankai will put a lot of burden on the body, and with that kind of injury, it is no longer possible to use the solution. Aizen told Ichimaru Jin. If it will be killed by the captain in Shikai state, then it can only be regarded as a failed experiment. Tusen Kanami didn't like to hear this, and retorted. It's not called an experimental product, but white. It is the first void created with dead ghosts. Aizen nodded. Yes, sorry, yes. However, the whole body is wrapped in black armor, but the inside is white, so it becomes white. How ironic. Meanwhile, Kurosaki Isshin's form is not looking good. After being stabbed in the back, he was obviously powerless. The flames cut by Injetsu were also easily dodged by Zubai, and the close-up attacks could also be easily blocked. He couldn't help frowning, and thought to himself, the wound is so deep that even Ryatsu begins to appear disordered, and Bankai cannot be used in this state. Naturally, Shubai would not show mercy, and a roar came down, it swung its blade violently. The tall building collapsed in an instant, and Yixin was knocked into the air, but he didn't suffer too much damage. Taking advantage of the victory, Zubai pursued the attack, and cast the resounding circle, shooting up like a cannonball. Don't underestimate people. He wholeheartedly wanted to teach Shubai a lesson, but the injury was too serious. Even when he raised his arm, a lot of blood would ooze from the wound. In that case, fire-style Great Fireball Isshin smears the blood on his lips, and then shoots a wide range of flames from his mouth, and endows the blade of Zanpakuto. This is one of Injetsu Shikai's abilities. Taking advantage of the cover of the flames, he rushed towards Zubai. And Shubai didn't show any weakness at all, and collided head-on. Boom! The two forces collided and a huge explosion occurred in the sky. But suddenly, a group of flames suddenly fell, and when the smoke cleared, an arm like a sword appeared. Immediately afterwards, Kurosaki Isshin also fell down. He didn't expect Zubai to be so fierce without an arm, but what was even more terrifying was still behind. Zubai slashed again with his remaining arm, and while he was focused on blocking, it unexpectedly condensed Sero. I panicked. This distance is impossible to avoid. After Sero is sent out, I will definitely die. But at this moment, a bow-drawing figure suddenly appeared in the rain. Kurosaki Masaki, come to the rescue. Chapter 78, Zangetsu is Yuhabach. What is that whiteness? Seeking subscription. Invisible Empire. Yuhabach watched Kurosaki Masaki pull the Reiko bow and arrow, with a firm look on his face, and couldn't help but sigh, pure blood Quincy. It's a pity. Although Yuhabach knew that Kurosaki Masaki was deprived of his power by his sanctification and died at the hands of Shu, but after seeing the video, he was a little surprised. Why did Kurosaki Masaki's pure blood become turbid? If such a woman joins the Star-Crossed Knights, she might be trained to be a good fighter by herself. Honor made with Shinigami's soul. That's interesting, Aizen Sosuke. Yuhabach frowned slightly. Like Urahara Kazuki said, hollow is poison to Quincy. And the hollow created with the soul of Shinigami is unexpectedly powerful enough to be comparable to the Knights of the Star Cross with the ability of holy characters. How interesting it would be if Aizen Sosuke joined me. Yuhabach's obscenity, the whiteness created by Aizen is so terrifying. After merging with Hogyoku, he can't guarantee that he can easily remove it. Seirei. Sero, exactly the same way you unleash Sero when Ichigo and Ulquiorra fought. Rukia's eyes widened in disbelief. Now she is more inclined to conjecture that Ichigo Hollow is empty afterward. Fortunately, that Quincy named Kurosaki Masaki arrived in time, otherwise Captain Shiba would be in trouble. Ju Chang breathed a sigh of relief. Although he knew the result of Kurosaki Isshin's battle, he didn't know the battle process, and he didn't know anything about the Quincy division. Not to mention Rangaku, even Yamamoto Genryuzai was not informed of any information about the Quincy. I don't even know what Captain Shiba's Bankai is, but Aizen clearly knows that Captain Shiba's Bankai will put a lot of burden on the body when released. Aizen, so scary. Toshiro frowned tightly, feeling disgusted with Aizen, but also felt a trace of fear. If such a thoughtful guy becomes an opponent, it would be too scary. Hey, this Zubai doesn't seem to be as powerful as the Niutouxu that Kurosaki Ichigo turned into. But Shiba Yixin of Shikai chopped off an arm? Zaraki Kenpachi snorted coldly. The battle in the video is not ordinary, but he does not feel any thrill and fun of fighting. Ajien, I also have this feeling. I guess this Zubai is not a successful product, maybe something is missing. Yachinryu nodded in agreement with Kenpachi's feelings. He can also see the gap between Toshiro and Ichigo when they become completely Zushi. After all, Ichigo is the carrier, and there are two other powers in his body to bless him, so the whiteness at this time is naturally incomparable. But even so, Captain Shiba was almost killed by Zubai. That stinky captain didn't mention anything about being rescued by Quincy. Rangaku still didn't forget to complain. On the screen at this time, Kurosaki Masaki holds the bow in his left hand and draws the string with his right. A light arrow of Lingza suddenly shot towards Zubai. Zubai reacted quickly, sensing the threat quickly, immediately cancelled Sero, and used the buzzer to get out of the way. Seeing this, Kurosaki Isshin breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time looked in the direction where the light arrow of Lingza came from in surprise. What? She is. Kurosaki Isshin doesn't know Masaki now, and a weak woman who suddenly joins the battle makes him feel incredible. Destroyer. And Aizen, who hadn't gone far, stopped for an instant, then turned his head to look, with a surprised look on his face. Kurosaki Isshin is an unexpected variable. Unexpectedly, another Quincy appeared. Is whiteness so popular? It's an unplanned object. Get rid of it immediately. Tsusankanami laughed immediately. But Aizen grabbed Tsusankanami's shoulder and stopped him. I'll observe for a while and see the situation. After Zubai found Masaki, he immediately locked on Masaki as the target and swooped away. Etc. Kurosaki Isshin wants to stop Zubai. This is a battle between the two, don't do that girl's business. Looking at Zubai, whose speed did not decrease at all, Yixin panicked. He couldn't just sit and watch his savior die at the hands of Zubai. But just as he was leaving, he found that his body would not allow him, his injuries were too serious, and he had no chance to block Shu Bai at all. Swish swish swish. Don't look at Masaki as a little girl, but she has no stage fright at all. She pulls the Holy Lost, and countless arrows shoot towards Zubai swiftly. Shu Bai is no ordinary Shu, he easily avoided all the arrows. Seeing this, Masaki panicked. It's so fast, I can't catch its movements, since this is the case. Her gaze became ruthless, and the sacred disappearance was put away. Idiot, what are you doing? Kurosaki Isshin hurriedly yelled at Masaki. Outside the video, Kurosaki Ichigo was also dumbfounded. What is mother doing? Putting away the sacred loss means that there is no way to stop Shu Bai. She is dying. Don't worry, Kurosaki Ichigo. Seeing that Ichigo was so nervous, Renji also complained. Kurosaki Masaki will not die. If she dies, you won't come out. Kurosaki Ichigo froze for a moment. What he said made sense, but it sounded harsh. He glanced at Renji fiercely and cursed, shut up if you can't talk. In the video, Masaki was in a hurry after putting away the Holy Lost. Aizen was surprised, and Zubai went crazy. It opened its jaws for a week. It seems to be saying to Masaki, who dares to put away the weapon, who do you look down on? Kai. The blade on Zubai's arm directly stabbed Masaki's shoulder. But Masaki remained calm, as steady as Mount Tai, but instead grabbed the pale head with his injured arm, and condensed a small sacred disappearance with the other hand. Caught by me. At this time, Masaki's face was no longer as playful as in Ishida's house, but instead showed an unusually firm look. Swish. Ling's lightsaber instantly pierced through the pale temples, and the blood sprayed out like splashing water. The horns were directly smashed into pieces. At this time, 3 pairs of eyes and a mask stared at Shigisaki below. This way of fighting turned out to be the strategy of a weak woman? So scary. Outside the video, Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes widened even more. He even used himself as a bait, and then looked for opportunities, caught Zubai, and killed him instantly with one move. Ichigo was not even sure if he could do this kind of tactic that might cost his life, but the seemingly weak Kurosaki Masaki made a decision in less than a second. Too brave, too decisive. Mom. If Kurosaki Masaki was still alive, Ichigo would definitely run to her immediately and praise her fiercely. Seirei. What a decisive Quincy, actually thought of handling it in this way. Byakuya Kuchiki was also shocked by Masaki's approach. It would be understandable if such a decision was made before the battle. But Masaki made the judgment within an extreme time, precise and decisive. The most important thing is not this point. Shinigami and Quincy are 2 opposing sides, and Ishida Uryu also said that after Shinigami dies, their Quincy will take action. But Kurosaki Masaki has no prejudice in her eyes, she will save even Shinigami. Byakuya was instantly awed. Is this Ichigo's mother? As expected of siblings, Rukia had the same opinion as Byakuya Kuchiki. She regretted that Masaki passed away too early. It would be great if she could see Masaki in this world. This Quincy is really unique. Think about it carefully. His father is Shinigami, and he is currently a pure-blooded Quincy. As their son, Kurosaki Ichigo must have these 2 forces in his body. Zaraki Kenpachi laughed wildly, his eyes widening. The light looks like it has discovered a treasure. Moreover, Kurosaki Ichigo can still hollow. There is such a powerful Niutouxu hidden in his body, the fusion of 3 powers. Kurosaki Ichigo. Not enough, not enough. Kenpachi thought of the first battle with Kurosaki Ichigo, where the opponent only used Shinigami's power, and he was instantly excited. If you add the 3 powers of Quincy, Shu and Shinigami together, what a joy it would be. It's no wonder that Kurosaki Ichigo's strength has improved so quickly. Fighting Arrancar is like playing for fun, so there are 3 kinds of power in his body. Shubing couldn't believe it. 3 kinds of repelling power coexist. Does such a person really exist? Not only does it exist, but it exists beside him. This is still Kurosaki Ichigo. This is obviously a cheating Kurosaki. Kira sighed with emotion. In the video screen, Zubai's head was pierced by the holy loss. The red light from the pupils suddenly went out, and then the flesh and blood on the Zubai swelled violently, protruding from behind Zubai like a hot air balloon. Seeing this, Masaki was a little at a loss. At the critical moment, Kurosaki Isshin Shunpo came and took Masaki away. Then the huge flesh and blood exploded, and the hot wave rushed to the sky, evaporating the surrounding rainwater one after another. Explode. How can it be? Tusen Kanami frowned when he heard the explosion. Shu biased his work, and he did not expect such an explosion to occur. He got mad and wanted to kill Masaki to vent his anger, but was stopped by Ichimaru Jin. Aizen didn't pay attention to the two, but instead looked at Kurosaki Ichigo and there. Are you all right? The fateful encounter kicked off, and Masaki shouted nervously, looking at Kurosaki Isshin who fell to the ground. Ah, it hurts. Sorry, saved. What a disgrace, as the captain, you still need a girl to save you. Yixin smiled with difficulty, with bloodline on his face, and he did not forget to laugh at himself. No, I am the one who was saved. Masaki ran to Yixin's side, feeling very guilty. If it wasn't for protecting me, I wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury. Yixin smiled innocently. Haha, then we'll be cleared, how about it? Saving each other's life is also a mess. Masaki was fooled by this stupid man, but she still did not forget to treat him. To be able to kill that guy alone. Who is the lady? Kurosaki Isshin asked Masaki's identity. Although he saw Masaki using Holy Annihilation, he had never seen Quincy before, so he didn't recognize it. Masaki panicked, she didn't know how to answer Isshin's question. At this moment, Longxian and her aunt's advice came to mind. Once she knew that she was the Quincy, what would happen to Shinigami? Kill yourself? Then when you attack yourself, kill Shinigami back? No, Masaki doesn't want to see such a situation. After some struggle, Masaki said, my name is Kurosaki Masaki, the Quincy Master. Without hiding anything, Masaki said truthfully. Really, it's Quincy, this is the first time I've seen a real person. Kurosaki Isshin was very excited. Wow, to be able to see a living Quincy is really rewarding. The single-minded response stunned Masaki for a moment. What's the matter with this man? It is completely different from the Shinigami that Xiaolong and his aunt talk about. Is this Shinigami? Are other Shinigami like this too? Masaki laughed excitedly. If this is the case, it would be great. she can let Ryu's and Ant cast aside their prejudice against Shinigami. At this point in the video, the living Kurosaki Ichigo had a happy smile on his face. I didn't expect my father and mother to meet in such a way, which can be regarded as a fateful friendship. And he is also looking forward to what the love story between his father and mother will be like. Seirei. Backquote, this Quincy is still very innocent. It turns out that Captain Shiba likes innocent girls. Jingle Chunshui pursed his lips and smiled. That is Kurosaki Isshin. If it is another Shinigami, the picture may not be so warm, but the Shinigami and the Quincy are chasing after each other. No wonder Captain Shiba didn't tell us any information about Quincy. If I were a man and met such a girl, I might consider staying by her side. Rangaku. He waved his hand. A decisive, brave, gentle and simple woman, who can resist? Actually, Captain Shiba is not a pervert, maybe there are other reasons. Toshiro glanced at Rangaku. Although Kurosaki Isshin is usually a little unreliable, he is definitely not a person who forgets his righteousness when he sees S**X. That's right, Shinigami and Quincy have a special relationship, and Captain Shiba has his own opinion on what to do. Rangaku nodded. Ishida's house. Ishida Longshan leaned against the pillar, his expression a little pale. I thought to myself, Kurosaki Isshin, you brat, this is how you took Masaki away from me. Of course, he also knew in his heart that Masaki had no special feelings for him, and he was like a brother and sister. Even if Masaki hadn't been corrupted by Hollow's pure-blooded Quincy gene, the two of them. It is also unlikely to go together. In the video screen, Kurosaki Masaki is thinking about telling Longshan about Shinigami. But what she didn't know was that Longshan and Katagira had already witnessed everything from a distance. Katagira, let's go. Masaki is safe and sound, there is no problem, understand? Longshan turned his head and told Katagira to forget everything that happened today. Katagira understands Longshan's intention of doing this, although he is unwilling, he still agrees. Yes, I understand, young master. The scene changed, and in the mysterious laboratory, Toussaint Kanami hammered the table angrily. Self-explosion means that Zhao Hao has not only completed the hollow of the target, but even the transfer of the final stage has been carried out. Such a perfect work was used on Quincy. Toussaint Kanami was very annoyed. Failed, obviously created for Shinigami Hollow, really screwed up. Aizen took off his robe and asked Toussaint Kanami not to care, although it deviates from the original goal, it can also be said to exceed the original goal. The so-called unexpected things are both. It means something we didn't expect. A highlight flashed on the glasses, and he was delighted by the accident, secretly laughing. Interesting. Open black lens bracket. The hollow created by the dead Shinigami deliberately chose the Quincy who is completely opposite to himself. Don't you want to see the future development? Kurosaki Ichigo, outside the video, suddenly realizes. Aizen said that Zubai chose the Quincy who is completely opposite to himself, and the power of the Quincy should exist in my body. Now he can be sure that the white Ichigo in his body is just empty white. Even now, whenever his mask appears, the consciousness is taken away by Shiro Ichigo. In other words, it is the void in the body that wants to occupy its own body. And this power is what Aizen does. Imaginary? Annihilator? Shinigami? The successive messages made Ichigo a little confused, but he couldn't help but think about it. If the white in my body is Zubai, it means that he has the power of Shu, then the power of the Quincy Master. Double. Uncle Zangetsu. Ichigo frowned tightly, and was taken aback for a moment. In addition to the whiteness in his body, there is also a mysterious uncle who often appears. At this time, a figure suddenly flashed in Ichigo's mind. It is the Yuhabach that appeared in the previous video of Bazz-B. That was the first time Ichigo saw Yuhabach. At that time, he wondered that this person looked familiar. The Quincy Master, Yuhabach. Could it be that Uncle Zangetsu is Yuhabach? It does look a bit similar, but Uncle Zangetsu is my Zanpakuto. How could it be Yuhabach? Chapter 79. Shubai's identity is confirmed. Masaki's Shu power. Seeking subscription. Ichigo shook his head and smiled. There are many people in this world who look alike, which doesn't explain anything. Apparently he doesn't know that Shiro is the embodiment of Zangetsu. And the Uncle Zangetsu he thought was Yuhabach from thousands of years ago. Urahara store. Tessai Tsukabishi looked at Urahara Kazuki, and said calmly. I didn't expect that Aizen even stole Urahara's store manager's technology, and Shushiro chose the Quincy Master. Doesn't it mean that Kurosaki Ichigo's GU power is Shubai? Urahara Kazuki nodded and smiled innocently. Yeah, that guy Aizen is such a jerk. He deliberately pressed his hat down, and the frown under the brim of the hat was not noticed by others. Urahara Kazuki knows the power inside Kurosaki Ichigo better than anyone else. If he hadn't saved Kurosaki Masaki back then, probably there would be no Kurosaki Ichigo now. In other words, the one who created this power is him, Urahara Kazuki. Seirei. It's really interesting. Shu chose the Quincy, which triggered a self-destruct. Kurotsuchi Mayuri watched the video with great interest, with a meaningful smile on his face. Dude, why does it look like you are behind the scenes? Captain Nirvana, looking at your expression, could it be that you are interested in Hollow's experiment? Zaraki Kenpachi stared at Kurotsuchi Mayuri coldly, questioning in his words. Although he is a fighting maniac, he is also a Shinigami himself, so he can ignore other things, but he is the first one who can't stand Hollow's evil and cruel experiment. Yeah, Captain Zaraki misunderstood me. How could I be interested in the Hollow experiment? It's just that the final transfer stage proposed by Toussaint Konami is very interesting. Kurotsuchi Mayuri waved his hand, with a smile on his face. Of course, he had secretly come into contact with Hollow's experiment, but he hadn't achieved much. He was very vain, so he naturally wouldn't disclose any information. Is there any difference? Sui Feng's mouth twitched, and he glanced at Kurotsuchi Mayuri indifferently. You said you weren't interested, seeing your straight eyes, I'm afraid you can't wait to find the answer right away. Could it be because Captain Nirvana Sakazuki developed the pill to take back Bankai, and wanted to be forced to research something new? Jingle Trenchui joked. He can understand people like Kurotsuchi Mayuri, and Urahara Kazuki also has research on Hollow, but he doesn't think it's a lie that Kurotsuchi Mayuri is interested in Hollow. Don't mention that Kazuki B******* to me. Almost at the same time, this sentence came from the mouths of Kurotsuchi Mayuri and Sui Feng. Captain Sui Feng, didn't Hashijin promise you to lock Urahara Kazuki in his barrier for a month? Haven't you vented your anger yet? Omeda looked at Sui Feng with a fat face. Sui Feng rolled his eyes and stared at Omeda. Don't look at me with your fat face, and even if you lock him in the barrier for a year, it won't solve the hatred in my heart. Moreover, in the video, Hashijin promised her that it is also a matter of the future, and it is not certain whether it can be realized. Kurotsuchi Mayuri gave Jingle a cold look, and said in a deep voice, Captain Jingle, don't you forget who saved Captain Hitsugaya from the zombie state? The corner of Toshiro's mouth twitched, he was a little speechless. How many times have he mentioned this matter? Besides, I don't know whether I am alive or dead, so how can I say that I was saved by you? Although Toshiro believed in Kurotsuchi Mayuri's technique, but he didn't want to agree with it if he tried it himself. In the video screen at this time, Kurosaki Isshin returns to the Soul Society and reports what happened to Yamamoto Genryuzai. Although the attack should be punished without authorization, but because of the decisive action, the sacrifice of the soldiers was minimized, and only a slight loss was suffered in this world, which can be regarded as equalizing the merits and demerits. Yamamoto Genryuzai did not hold Kurosaki Isshin accountable. Hearing Yamamoto's words, Kurosaki Isshin showed his true colors, beamed with joy, and bowed to Yamamoto. Yes, thank you very much. HMPH, I think it's a great crime not to recover the wreckage of Mystery Void. Kurotsuchi Mayuri next to him snorted coldly, expressing his dissatisfaction. If there are empty wreckage, he can conduct experimental research. However, the report only describes the abnormality of Shu. It would be best if there is nothing missing. Yamamoto Motoinagi narrowed his eyes, looked at Yixin like a mountain, and said, there is nothing else. Do you need anything special to describe? Kurosaki Isshin was stunned for a moment. He thought of that innocent girl Masaki. After a little hesitation, he didn't say anything about the Quincy. At this point in the video, Ichigo couldn't sit still. I complained in my heart. Kurotsuchi Mayuri, that guy said it easily. Why didn't you recover the wreckage of Mystery Shu? Do you understand the situation at that time? Let alone self-explosion, Aizen is hiding in the dark, and he may attack at any time, and Kurosaki Isshin was seriously injured at the time, so it would be good to save his life, and he still wants to recover the wreckage? Forget it, but you still want to convict Kurosaki Isshin? This Kurotsuchi Mayuri is really annoying, Ichigo complained. Ishida Uryu echoed, I agree, I hate him too. Ichigo, your father's emotional intelligence is really high. Renji looked at Ichigo and smiled faintly. Although Shinigami and Quincy are old enemies, he didn't graft any past grievances onto your mother. On the contrary, a few words made your mother open up infinite hopes. Immediately, he turned his attention to Ishida Ulong again, and continued. Ishida Ulong's father, it's not wrong to lose. As soon as this remark came out, Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Uryu stared at Renji fiercely at the same time. Shut up, B**************. It's as if Kurosaki Masaki is an item, being fought over and over again. Return to the video screen. In Qingtong College High School, Masaki sat in the classroom and stared out the window, as if she was in Saoying and her heart was in Han. I don't know if that person has returned to the Soul Society safely, won't he be scolded there? Masaki thought of Kurosaki Isshin's single-minded appearance, like a little girl who just fell in love, thinking of Ruiru. If I knew it earlier, I would have asked his name. On the other side, Kurosaki Isshin was lying in the aisle of the corridor of the 10th Division team building, looking up at the sky, thinking about something. He believed the rumors that the Quincy was still alive. That guy. Whether he saved me as a Shinigami, or claimed to be a Quincy, it takes a lot of courage. Yixin sighed, and said with emotion, what an amazing guy, I should have talked to her more at the beginning. How can I say that Captain Shiba was absent-minded all day long after he came back from the present world? It turned out that he was hiding something in his heart. Rangaku outside the video smiled slightly, thinking that this kind of two-way relationship is really beautiful. But soon, the smile on her face faded a little, as Ichimaru Jin was thought of. Running in both directions. This word should have been used on the two of them. Captain Shiba really made a lot of money. I didn't expect a girl to fall in love with him after meeting him once. When will I have such luck? Jingle Chunshui supported the bamboo hat, shook his head and smiled wryly. Seeing Jingle Chunshui's incongruity, Kiksu complained. Captain, if you continue like this, you will be single for the rest of your life. Little Kiksu, it's not fun to say that, Jingle Chunshui said in surprise. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo showed an uncle smile and watched the video quietly. I didn't expect my parents to fall in love at first sight. Ishida Uryu placed his fingers on the glasses frame and closed his eyes. Sprinkling dog food deserves death, although he has long since let go of it, he still doesn't want to watch it. Kurosaki Isshin in the screen has decided to go see Masaki again and thank him for saving his life in person. Anyone can guess his little thoughts, thanking you for saving your life is not a lie, but meeting him is the truth. Masaki on the other side was walking home with her best friend as usual after school. Living under the same roof as Ishida-senpai, are you excited every day? Best friend Kanan asked Masaki. It's been said that Xiaolong is my cousin, it's not what you imagine at all. Masaki responded with a smile. Yeah, even if they're not cousins, it's nothing. Masaki doesn't like that type at all. Another best friend Shiho said. As expected of Shiho, who knows me best, but I really don't understand why I added the first half of the sentence. Masaki nodded. I really can't mess with you, even if it's my cousin, if Ishida-senpai wants it, I will sacrifice myself. Kanan. Too nasty, Shiho, take good care of her. While the girls were on the 8 trigrams road, suddenly a man bumped into them head-on. The man wearing the plaid hat is none other than Urahara Kazuki. Masaki quickly apologized, but Kazuki said it was okay. But after Masaki walked away, Kazuki seemed to have discovered something, and turned his head to look, with a scrutiny in his expression. Urahara store manager. Ichigo outside the video got nervous when he saw Urahara Kazuki appearing. He understood Urahara Kazuki's character, and when he showed this expression, it meant he had discovered something bad. Ichigo's heart is hanging now, he doesn't want to see anything happen to Masaki. AEBB, Masaki in the screen has returned to Ishida's house. Long Xian was about to greet her when she saw it, but was chased away by a cold voice. Ishida Yicheng stopped in front of the door with a solemn expression. Shensake. I'm back, aunt. Seeing Ishida Yasumi's cold face, Masaki panicked. I heard that you fought against Shu to save Shinigami a few days ago? Ishida Yasumi stared at Masaki. Why would my aunt know? Masaki panicked, she didn't want to admit it. He hesitated and said, no, that's not the case. Ishida Yicheng disagreed. I only said that with definite evidence, and lying will only devalue your value. Why don't you talk? Why do you do that? Don't you feel embarrassed? Seeing that Masaki was stunned in place, she walked over and grabbed Masaki's arm. You were raised by the Ishida family, but you broke the precepts of the Quincy. Long Xian at the side reacted instantly and ran to the room. Pushing Katagira against the wall suddenly, Katagira, why did you tell Mom? I should have told you, that night. There was no problem at all. There is a problem. Katagira shouted. Miss Masaki was injured by Shu's attack. If you ask Mr. and Mrs. to use the healing technique of the official Quincy Master, the blood of the Ishida family may be muddied in the future. You only for such a small reason. Long Xian wanted to say something. Such a small reason? Katagira stared at Long Xian in panic. Isn't that all there is, young master? Didn't you say that you married Miss Masaki for the sake of Quincy's future? Beyond the video, the Invisible Empire. Yuhabach smiled lightly. Shu's power and Quincy could not coexist. It turned out that Kurosaki Masaki's pure blood Quincy was tainted in this way. At the same time he is also very interested in Kurosaki Ichigo. Aroused great interest. Honor and the power of Quincy coexist. Ah, my son, Kurosaki Ichigo. Ah. The living Ichigo sneezed violently. Ishida-san's father really wants to marry Kurosaki-san's mother? Inoue Orihime turned to look at Ichigo and Uryu and said in surprise. Inoue, there is something wrong with the organization of your sentence. Sato corrected Orihime's mistake. It should be said that Ishida Ryushin's original purpose was to inherit the purebred blood Quincy, so he wanted to cooperate with the black. Masaki Sake was married, and at that time there were no Ichigo and Uryu, and could not carry their titles. Yes. Sorry, Kurosaki-san, Ishida-san, Inoue Orihime apologized. Ichigo and Uryu didn't take it seriously, but it can be seen that Sora Ishida really likes Kurosaki Masaki, but it's a pity that Captain Shiba has a better skill. Renji interjected. Hearing this, Ichigo smiled lightly, thinking that Kurosaki Isshin usually plays around and is quite popular with girls, which is very similar to him. Good guy, type lousy like a son. However, Ishida Uryu remained silent. Has mother ever been so worthless in father's eyes? Ishida Katagira never talked to him about the past, so he naturally didn't know that there was such a big gap in the status of Ishida Katagira and Kurosaki Masaki in Ishida Ryuzuru's heart. In the video, Long Xian didn't worry about whether Katagira's report was right or wrong, turned around and left, wanting to ask his mother to explain. Mom, wait a minute. Really, just as Long Xian was about to explain, Masaki told him not to worry. Xiaolong, don't worry about me. But before she finished speaking, she fell to the ground with a plop. Long Xian was stunned. and rushed over without saying a word. "Masaki, what's wrong with you? Does it hurt anywhere?" At this time, he discovered that there was a hole like a phantom hole under Masaki's neck. There are blue veins all over the hole, and it seems that there are signs of expansion. Ishida Uryu was also stunned. "That's an empty hole." It seemed to understand that it was the repulsion after being falsely attacked. Longshan hurriedly picked up Masaki, but was asked by Ishida Uryu what he was going to do. "Where's Dad?" "I don't know, I'm planning to contact him, you just wait here." But Longshan didn't listen to Ishida Uryu's words, and rushed out of the house with Masaki in his arms. "Stop for me, don't stay with that kind of inexplicable thing, it will bring danger to you too." Ishida Uryu roared at Longshan's figure. It's not that she doesn't want to care about Masaki, but she's afraid that Dragonstring, who inherits the purebred blood, will also be contaminated with Shu's power. Seirei. That's so interesting, so much fun. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes lit up. He didn't care about the love story between Ishida Uryu and Kurosaki Masaki or Kurosaki Isshin, but was only interested in Masaki, who showed symptoms of hollow after being attacked by Kuro. Shibala, things, and full down. He breathed a sigh of relief. I understand. The reason why Kurosaki Ichigo was able to use hollow, and even turned into a bullhead, was because Kurosaki Masaki was invaded by the power of hollow, and produced hollow, this kind of power. Amount naturally passed down to its son Kurosaki Ichigo. Shubing suddenly realized, thinking that Kurosaki Ichigo's back village is not small. Seeing the appearance of Kurosaki Masaki, the living Ichigo couldn't help feeling tense. He couldn't bear to see his mother in such pain, but he also understood why Zanpakuto had just awakened, and there would be an evil force in his body. This may be the source of the virtual power. Awakening Zanpakuto, the void power? Thinking of this, Jihu's eyes lit up. It seems that these two things that were originally unlikely to be related have been connected in series. So, the whiteness in my body is my real Zangetsu? Ichigo shook his head, half believing in his guess. In the picture, when Longshan hugged Masaki and went out, he was completely out of control. He doesn't know what happened to Masaki, or why Hollow's hole appeared. Gritting his teeth, he regretted that he did not try his best to stop Masaki, and regretted that he did not intervene in the battle. But there is no medicine for regret in the world, and perhaps all Longshan can do now is blame himself. House seemingly endless rain. When Longshan lost his mind, a ghost had already stared at the two of them. Falsely opened the giant jaw, biting at the dragon string at an extremely fast speed. With this distance, the distracted Ryushin and Masaki in his arms are very likely to be swallowed up by Hollow. In the nick of time, Shua. A saber light slashed down with an afterimage, and Shu was instantly split into two. Chapter 80, Deep in the Soul. Why is the video still coded? Seeking subscription. Kurosaki Isshin raised the knife and dropped it, and it instantly turned into pieces. Oh, it's really dangerous. It's just a little bit close. You don't need to thank me. I don't care for your frustrating thanks. Shinji put Injetsu on his shoulders and grinned. Originally, I wanted to come to see Masaki in this world, but when I came here, she was so handsome that she saved the scene. Ha ha ha, Ichigo, your father is really bad enough. He called him a boy when we first met. Renji outside the video laughed, thinking that this kind of captain is interesting. Although he knew that Kurosaki Isshin was joking, it might be fine if his captain Byakuya Kuchiki's character, like Kurosaki Isshin's, was a little bit off. Ichigo gave Ishida Uryu an embarrassed look. Apart from other things, in terms of appearance alone, Ishida Ryushin is indeed a handsome man. His father said he was a frustrated man, which was indeed a little too much. Then he smiled naively. Just kidding, just kidding. In the video screen, Longshan recognized Kurosaki Isshin at a glance. When Kurosaki Isshin was fighting Zubai, he was watching from a distance. But this didn't affect the emotion of wanting to complain in the slightest. D. Kurosaki Isshin was still surprised, but then he saw Masaki in Longshan's hand. Isn't this the girl I want to meet? But what's going on with this look? He was a little overwhelmed, and quickly approached Longshan. Wait, let me see. Don't touch her. With a roar, Longshan immediately drank Yixin where he was. Why do you think she became like this? It's all to protect you. Longshan couldn't control his emotions, and shouted with all his strength. She broke the commandments of the Quincy, just to protect you as a Shinigami, and got injured because of it. Why did Masaki have to suffer such a thing? Hearing this, Kurosaki Isshin stood there in a daze. It reminds me of the damage that Shu caused to Masaki before. He couldn't face Longshan, although he didn't know the relationship between Longshan and Masaki, but after all, the matter was his own, and he was a little bit sorry. I got injured like Shu. Could there be other reasons? I'm going to kill. Longshan's eyes were fierce, full of killing intent. Enough. Suddenly a voice from a distance stopped the two of them. The visitor is none other than the reliable Urahara Kazuki. Kazuki looked serious, and said to the two, there is no time to fight here, you two come with me, and I will tell you how to save that girl. Outside of the video, Kurosaki Ichigo, who was holding his heart all the way, finally felt relieved. Seeing Urahara Kazuki appear, he knew that his mother was saved. Ichigo knows Urahara Kazuki very well. He is usually careless, but seriously, he is an extremely reliable and attractive man. Seirei. Urahara Kazuki, it's that guy again. Kurotsuchi Mayuri was still high-spirited just now, but after seeing Urahara Kazuki, she suddenly frowns. Stealing the limelight, really stealing the limelight. Yeah, Kazuki was wronged by the 46th chamber back then. It's a pity. If he hadn't left Soul Society, would Seirei have a different scene? Jingle Chunshui smiled faintly. After Aizen's incidents were exposed one after another, it was a foregone conclusion that Kazuki would be wronged. Captain Jingle, what do you mean by that? You mean I'm the director of the Technology Development Bureau, so I missed Seirei, right? When Kurotsuchi Mayuri heard Jingle's words, he was immediately unhappy. Captain Nirvana misunderstood me. What did I mean? I just wonder how Kazuki will rescue Kurosaki Masaki. Jingle Chunshui quickly shook his head in denial. In the video, Yixin and Longxian seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw, and without any hesitation, they left with the person in front of them who had never been naked. Kazuki brought several people back to the Urahara store. He has studied Masaki's situation for more than 100 years. 100 years? But you don't look like someone that old at all. Who are you? Longxian and Yixin were stunned. My name is Urahara Kazuki, a person expelled from the Soul Society. Kazuki told the truth without hiding anything. Are you, Urahara Kazuki? Yixin was stunned. Of course he knew the name, the former captain of the 12th team and the director of the Development Bureau. Seeing that the two were chatting, Longxian hurriedly interrupted. It doesn't matter what your real identity is. Can you cure Masaki? Then let her recover quickly. Longxian was a little nervous. If he dragged on, the situation might get worse. I never said I could restore her to her original state. Kazuki turned his head and said in a deep voice. He only promised to save Masaki, but he didn't promise to return to the original state. Frankly speaking, that girl, Ms. Masaki, is beyond recovery. Hearing this, Longxian and Yixin froze in place. Kazuki asked Longxian to put Masaki down, and explained. Her symptom is called hollow, and the so-called hollow refers to injecting Shu's soul into an existing soul, so as to destroy the boundary between these two souls. It is a trial to destroy the original object and sublimate it into a higher level of soul. That was originally a technology produced to strengthen Shinigami's soul, but it has surpassed the scope that Shinigami can control. The situation of Kurosaki Masaki is the result of applying this uncontrollable technique to a Quincy beyond the original target. Hearing that he couldn't control it, Longxian panicked. Is there no way to help Masaki? No, although it can't return to its original appearance, it can save her life. Urahara Kazuki's words were like a magic needle for calming the sea, which stabilized Yixin and Longxian a lot. Even if you can't return to the original state, at least you can stay alive. If the hollow symptoms of the soul deepen, the original soul and the virtual soul will be mixed together, and it will become an irrational monster. Kazuki explained that it was like the situation where Hiriko Shinji and his group lost their minds. And in the end, not only the boundary between souls, but also the boundary between the soul itself and the outside world will be destroyed, and then it will be separated from the self-will until the self-death. This is called soul suicide. Hearing this concept, Yixin and Longxian were a little dazed, unable to answer the question, continued to listen carefully. What a troublesome concept. Is this what you scientists usually study, Captain Nirvana? Outside the video, Rangaku asked Kurotsuchi Mayuri curiously. Even as a Shinigami, she has trouble understanding these concepts. Soul suicide is easy to understand, Rangaku, don't you understand? Toshirō glanced at Rangaku, who is also a vice captain anyway, doesn't even understand this? I don't understand, it's just a bit troublesome to understand. Rangaku coughed lightly, pretending to be profound. I see, Urahara Kazuki. Suddenly, Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes lit up, as if he had discovered some treasure. He sneered, is the way to prevent the soul from committing suicide directly injecting the opposite soul to hollow? Hey, it seems that Captain Nirvana has discovered something. Komamura Sajin became interested. Toshiro was also puzzled. Why did Captain Ni say that? Seeing so many ignorant guys, Kurotsuchi Mayuri suddenly became excited. Didn't you hear that B******** D Kazuki say that hollow key destruction of the boundary is caused by breaking the balance of the soul, so I guess that the purpose of prevention can be achieved by triggering the balance of the opposite existence. Kurotsuchi Mayuri thought a lot, and finally found the answer in Kurosaki Ichigo. It sounds like that's the case, Sugoi, Captain Ni. Jingle Chunshui clapped his hands. The rest of the officers also agreed, even though some people couldn't understand at all, they still nodded along with the crowd. Kurotsuchi Mayuri smiled triumphantly. Kazuki, that's all you need. Sure enough, what Urahara Kazuki and Kurotsuchi Mayuri said in the video is exactly the same. Longxian was shocked, but Yixin didn't understand what Kazuki meant. Kazuki explained patiently. For example, I used the light arrows of the Quincy and human souls to make a vaccine, and injected it into the souls of several Shinigami after hollow. Through this method, the suicide of the soul can be prevented 100% successfully, but only the suicide of the soul can be prevented. To save her life, not to let her hollow, but to continue to exist as a human being, a stronger force is needed, and the opposite powerful force is injected. Until she dies, she cannot leave for a moment, and continues to suppress hollow. Nonsense. Long Xian didn't accept this method. He lowered his head, his expression was gloomy. There are other ways? What a smart man, he understands so quickly. I know it's hard for you to accept this fact, but... Urahara Kazuki, eyes sinking, gasped. You can't do anything. He turned to look at Kurosaki Isshin. The one who has the ability to do this is you, Shiba with one heart. Kazuki took out a special prosthetic skeleton prepared in advance. This is made with the soul of a human being. The soul injected here can survive as a complete human being. In other words, if Kurosaki Isshin is injected, he becomes an intermediate existence between Shinigami and humans. The opposite of Quincy is Shinigami, and the opposite of Hollow is human. Using this technique, Kurosaki Isshin will become the opposite of Kurosaki Masaki. The choice is yours. Kazuki reminded. For you, this is a choice with too many negative effects. After entering this skeleton, not only will you no longer be able to use the power of Shinigami, you will not even be able to see the ghost, and I am afraid that once you enter among them, you can no longer become a Shinigami. Long Xian on the side was almost desperate. It wasn't that the harm outweighed the benefit at all, but for Shinigami there was only harm but no benefit. How could any fool accept such a thing? Present world. Ichigo understood that Urahara Kazuki meant to let Kurosaki Isshin become a coexistence of human beings and Shinigami through Yike. It is used to neutralize the virtual power in Kurosaki Masaki's body, and the price is that Kurosaki Isshin is likely to become impossible Shinigami. So it's because of this reason that my parents got together? Ichigo was a little disappointed, and thought they would have a wonderful love story. But when I think about it, the two parties have always cared about each other. This way may be a unique romance. Seirei. As expected of Captain Nirvana, the concept he said is actually the same as that of Urahara Kazuki. Shubing praised. Kurotsuchi Mayuri smiled lightly, as if this was a very common thing. It's nothing, as long as you understand the principle, there is nothing to be confused about. Just like Urahara Kazuki took back Benkai's pill, the principle is similar, but this time it is interspersed in the middle of a human being. 0. Asking for flowers. 0. Awesome. Enthusiastic applause sounded again. Return to the video screen. Kazuki continued to explain. For this protoskele to be a vaccine to suppress Hollow, the premise for it to work is that her own soul must be combined with the virtual spirit in her body. Maintaining combination requires a very strong force, and during the process of combining, Kurosaki Isshin cannot escape from the skeleton until Kurosaki Masaki's soul and the void in the body is released from combination. That is to say, Kazuki didn't finish his sentence. Kurosaki Isshin crossed his arms, looked at everything and shouted, "Understood, I will do it." Why? Both Kazuki and Long Xian were stunned, agreed so quickly. I said I will do it. Let's start quickly. You take too long to explain. Kurosaki Isshin did not forget to complain. I pretended to say so much nonsense. I am not a Shinigami. I will keep it for the rest of my life. Just protect her. There is no need to think about this kind of thing. No nostalgia? Kazuki asked. How could there be none? There are too many to talk about, but so what? Yixin straightened his chest. Being held back by nostalgia, refusing to save my benefactor. The future me will definitely be ashamed of this. That's the fate. He said the same thing when Masaki rescued him. Longxian sighed acquiescingly. He hated himself for not being a Shinigami, and unable to save Masaki himself. Seirei. Captain Stupid, you actually agreed so straightforwardly. Why don't you come back sometime and say goodbye to us? We thought you were dead. Rangaku complained angrily. To be honest, it's good to leave a thought. 0. Rangaku. The captain can't help himself. Kurosaki Masaki's situation is not optimistic. If he returns to Soul Society, Kurosaki Masaki will probably die on the way. Toshiro expressed. Show understanding. Kurosaki Masaki is the savior of Kurosaki Isshin. If he abandons his savior and returns to Soul Society alone, Toshiro would not want to be under his command if he is such a captain. Captain, I understand, it's just that Captain Shiba answered too quickly. You know what I mean, Rangaku said. Jashiro scratched the back of his head and took the words. Doesn't this mean that Captain Shiba values love and righteousness? This world, country. Dad, if Mom was ugly, would you agree to the method proposed by Urahara Kazuki so decisively? Kurosaki Sha Li issued a soul torture. Kurosaki Isshin smiled innocently. Of course, even if your mother is a big fat man, I will agree without hesitation. Bang. Sha Li punched Yixin on the head, and the corner of her mouth twitched. You are not allowed to speak ill of my mother. Yixin covered his head, feeling very aggrieved. No way, I'm just making an analogy. The video screen continues. Kazuki saw Kurosaki Isshin's determination and immediately prepared the ceremony. At this time, deep in the soul, Masaki's soul is about to be swallowed by Zubai, just when she almost fell into Waibai's mouth. Hey, I'm here to protect you. A warm voice sounded from Masaki's ear, and Kurosaki Isshin hugged Masaki Akaka's waist. Hey, Shu, I'm here, don't you want to move a finger of her? Kurosaki Isshin protected Masaki, and shouted at the huge blank mask in his soul. What kind of expression is that on your face? You only have one big head. You don't feel comfortable listening to me say one finger or something. Broken. He took out Zanpakuto and Jetsu, frowning tightly. Crescent. Sky Chong. Outside the video, Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes widened when he saw his father using the crescent moon. What's the situation? Isn't Crescent Sky Rush my exclusive move? How can Dad do it too? Student Kurosaki, Uncle will also use your trick, just like you, Inoue, Orihime said in surprise. Sato looked at Orihime again, correcting her mistake. Inoue, it should be said that Ichigo's crescent moon is like his father's crescent moon. Orihime nodded awkwardly, blushing immediately. Although they are both crescent moons and heavenly poles, they are not the same in essence. Ichigo found out that his father's crescent moon was a slash created by fusing Ryotsu and flames at close range, while his own black and red crescent moon was attached to Shu Liwang. In the video, Yixin, holding his sister in his arms, swung the crescent sky in the most handsome posture, and the mask collapsed and destroyed in an instant. At this moment, what he shattered was not only the false mask, but also the inner defense of Masaki, who was honest. But before he finished his posses, Masaki's sharp roar reached his ears. Not surprise, but surprise. The two returned to reality. Aren't you that Shinigami? Great, I just wanted to see you. Did you get scolded when you went back last time? Masaki asked excitedly. Yixin couldn't take it anymore, so he yelled back, girls don't yell naked. However, people outside the video saw Kurosaki Masaki, but the picture was extremely blurry. Seirei. Jingle Chunshui shook his head. Take an inventory. What does video encoding mean? Chapter 81. Open black lens bracket wholly close black lens bracket. Ichigo swears to kill Yuhabach. Seeking subscription? Inventory is inventory. What does video encoding mean? Jingle Chunshui suddenly became unhappy. It should be such a beautiful picture. Why is there a cover? Doesn't this mean that you don't regard yourself as a gentleman? Even if I don't code, I will take the initiative to cover my eyes when this kind of picture is played. Ahem, Captain, this kind of behavior is to guard against villains, not gentlemen. Shishu covered her mouth and smiled faintly. You captain me, but a gentleman, Jingle Chunshui cursed. Of course this kind of picture has to be coded. There are so many children outside the video. Toshiro laughed foolishly and looked at Toshiro. Toshiro looked at Toshiro angrily, and complained. Captain Toshiro, when you talk about children, please don't look at me. Although his image is that of a child, his age is not a simple child. Captain, what Captain Toshiro said is right, it's not suitable for children. Rangaku covered his mouth and smiled, and then complained. It seems that only Captain Shiba saw the whole picture of Kurosaki Masaki. What are you group of ISPs discussing? Rukia Kuchiki glanced at the few people who reacted the most. Who is the ISP? Toshiro blushed, and immediately said, don't use this word on me, I think Captain Jingle is quite suitable. Jingle Spring Water. In the present world, the Kurosaki family. Kurosaki Isshin's heart was spinning, but he put it in his stomach. Because he remembered the scene from the beginning. When I performed the ceremony with Kurosaki Masaki, there were no other people around, and it was a scene deep in the soul. If the video was played without obstruction, he would definitely be the first to be unwilling. Thinking about it, Kurosaki Isshin laughed. It's not for anything else, but Masaki's character and attitude towards things make him even more fascinated. Boom. Kurosaki Shiali smashed Kurosaki Isshin's head on the 960 door with a fist, and grinned. Dad, what are you thinking, showing such an evil smile? Combined with the screen of the video, Kurosaki seems to have guessed something. What are you doing? Kurosaki Isshin covered his head, very aggrieved. I just remembered the beautiful past with your mother, and thought of her tenderness and simplicity, so I just smiled. What are you doing hitting me? That's it. Sha Li smiled awkwardly. It's my fault. Back to the video screen, the most exciting part is covered. Kurosaki Isshin can really see it. But he is a gentleman, not a villain. He just yelled at Masaki, and didn't take the rest to heart. Please tell me your name. Masaki raised her arms high, she almost spurted blood. It was at this time that the two returned to selling now. Masaki was not as lively as in her soul, but was in a deep sleep state, and her clothes were very neat. At this time, Urahara Kazuki came to the scene of the ceremony. As a matchmaker, he was very happy, showing Yi's paws, and said happily, the souls of the two of you have successfully combined. Are you all right? Hearing this, Kurosaki Isshin was silent at first, but he felt relieved when he saw the girl who was sleeping peacefully in front of him. Yes, that's great, he felt relieved and grateful that his savior could escape from death. His face was close to Masaki, and he began to observe carefully. Hey, I was scolded again, naked and yelling. Don't look at the fact that Masaki is in a deep sleep state in reality, but her two cheeks are as red as apples, and she remembers everything that happened in the depths of her soul, and she keeps talking in her sleep. In this world, Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help laughing seeing Kurosaki Masaki's innocent appearance. Mom is so cute, it looks like he has developed special feelings for Dad, that's great. From Kurosaki Masaki's deep sleep, in a stupid State, he still mentioned Kurosaki Isshin like a dream. What is this love? Dad is also really hateful. He never told us the story of him and Mom. It's really hateful. Ichigo clenched his fists, really wanting to teach Kurosaki Isshin a lesson. In the video screen, seeing Masaki's sleepwalking state, Kurosaki Isshin decided to treat her. Why, are you still dreaming the dream just now? As he spoke, he flicked Masaki's forehead with his finger, and the forehead made a crisp sound. Ah, it hurts so much, Masaki said in a dream. Isshin and Masaki are happy, but on the other hand, Ishida Uryu has left the Urahara store silently. At this moment, it is raining heavily outside. The heavy rain seemed to make him find a way to vent, and he walked in the rain. The girl who was originally her own now belongs to someone else. He was not resentful because of the appearance of Kurosaki Isshin, but because of his own inability to save Masaki. Let the rain wash away everything, but after a few steps, a figure holding an umbrella appeared in front of him. It was Katagi Yi, who had been waiting there for a long time. Long Xian didn't want to speak, and passed her by. Seeing this, Katagira spoke first. Did you leave Masaki-san by Shinigami's side? Long Tian hesitated for a moment, and he didn't know whether it was tears or rain flowing on his handsome face. He said in a low voice. Yes, go back and tell your mother. Long Xian is no longer qualified to protect Quincy gone. He didn't intend to go home, but chose to leave alone. In his opinion, even if he was the one who happened all this, if he had been more selfish or cruel at the beginning, it would not have caused the current situation. I'm not going back. Katagi Yi's face was hesitant, and her voice was sharp and extremely firm. I can't leave young master here alone. Have you forgotten? I said that I will serve you all my life. This is my responsibility. From the moment we first met, Katagira's life has belonged to Master Longxian, so please, don't be sad no matter what. Katagira Hei was sent to the Ishida family when she was very young. It's just that there is some difference in status. It's a master-servant relationship, but it stands to reason that the two are childhood sweethearts. Crystal-clear tears flowed down Katagira's face. If Master Longxian is sad, then Katagira's heart will be torn apart by this sadness, if Master Longxian cries. Katagira. Longxian couldn't bear to insist any longer, and said in a deep voice, stop talking, let's go back. Katagira was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Longxian to make such a decision. According to her understanding of Longxian would not change her mind so easily. Is this a response? Sure enough, the best way to get out of a relationship is to step into a new relationship. Katagira nodded. Yes, I understand, Master. Seeing this, Ishida Uryu outside the video fell silent. He didn't expect his mother and husband and wife to have such a story. Student Yulong, are you alright? Inoue Orihime saw the silence on Ishida Uryu's face and greeted softly. Yulong froze for a moment, then said in a deep voice, it's all right. At this moment, Ichigo said, Uryu, that woman named Katagira, isn't she Aunt Kwan? He could see Katagira's special affection for Ishida Uryu. And the phrase, Katagira, let's go back, in the video seems to represent that Ishida Ryushin accepted Katagira Hei. What does it have to do with you? Hearing this, Yulong glared at Kurosaki Ichigo viciously. Although he didn't express it, his attitude said everything. It turned out that Ishida Uryu's mother was Ishida Ryugan's servant. Renji was startled, but unexpectedly, Urahara Kazuki appeared, and they formed two new couples. Shut up, B*****************. D. Yulong turned his gaze to Renji, and stared at him fiercely. Servant, this word is too harsh. Moreover, Uryu seldom mentioned his mother, and Katagira Yi also lost consciousness and fell into a coma because of Yuhabach's sanctuary, and died 3 months later. Ishida Longxian even dissected Katagahai's autopsy. Because of this incident, there has been a gap between him and Longxian for many years. Okay, let's not talk about those unhappy pasts. Seeing that the scene was getting out of control, Inoue Orihime smiled and said to Yulong and Renji. Ishida's house. Ishida Longxian walked to the window and stared at the sky with a dignified expression. Katagira, I'm sorry for you. A drop of tears flowed down his vicissitudes of face. He learned from Kazuki that Kate's death was caused by Yuhabach. He wanted to avenge Katagira, so he had to look for clues from Katagira. Sorry. Yulong. Seirei, Captain Shiba and Masaki, it seems that Ishida Ryuzuru and Katagira Hei are also a later couple. Rangaku sighed. At this moment, she did not have any pessimistic emotions. Instead, he blesses the two couples from his heart, even though they have nothing to do with him. Compared to Katagira Hei, I still like Kurosaki Masaki. Jingle Chunshui smiled lightly. Everyone glanced at Jingle Chunshui at the same time. Chi Shu was the first to speak. Captain, I think you should be single. Jingle Spring Water. The video screen is still playing at this time. Not long after Masaki's hollow time ended, she left the Ishida house after graduating from high school. Because the soul is mixed with Shu, Masaki knows in her heart that she is no longer qualified to stay at Ishida's house, believing is the decision made by Ishida Uryu. This is a choice made in her own way to say goodbye to Masaki. And Kurosaki Isshin, using the medical skills he learned at the spiritual academy, opened a clinic in this world, thanks to the help of Urahara Kazuki. Kurosaki Masaki became a college student, and often came to laugh at Kurosaki Isshin, who replaced Captain Haori and put on a white coat. In this regard, Isshin did not tell Masaki the truth, and lied that he made a mistake in the Soul Society and was exiled to the present world. But for Masaki, who has a keen intuition, she has already seen through the lie the moment she focused on telling the reason. But to them, that lie is insignificant, and it doesn't matter whether it is true or not. When the screen changes, Unagi House, where Ichigo works. Yiksen, who is wearing a Shiba costume, is telling Ichigo everything. Masaki is like the sun, attracting everything around her, tolerant of everything, shining everywhere. I am very happy to be around her gone. And so you were born. Outside the video, although he didn't know why the father in the picture would tell him so much about the past, he felt very relieved after hearing the love story of his parents. Originally, I thought that the main reason for the two to be together was to save Masaki with Yike, but it was not the case. This is just a trivial point. Those who go in both directions must be happy and beautiful. Return to the video screen. Kurosaki Isshin continued. You know what happened afterwards. Aizen sent Rukia to the present world as planned to contact you and awaken the power of Shinigami in your body. Practice there in Urahara, calling out Zanpakuto. Later, during the battle of the Soul Society, Suya in his body was awakened. The release of the void in your body means that my Ryotsu can no longer suppress it, so the combination between my Yoshiku and Noxu is severed. After 20 years, Kurosaki Isshin's Shinigami power is revived. But suddenly, Yiksen's expression became serious. He looked at Ichigo seriously, and continued. Ichigo, what happened after you were born is all your own experience, but what you have experienced. There are things you don't know about. 9 years ago today, August 17th. Hearing this date, Kurosaki Ichigo outside the video frowned. He remembered this time very clearly, the time when his mother died. Masaki's death has always been a knot in Ichigo's heart, but from now on, his mother is the Quincy Master. Although the pure blood has been muddied by Hollow's power, the power of Quincy Master has not disappeared. It should not be a problem to deal with the Grand and Fisher. Why was it killed? Kurosaki-san, is it alright? Inoue or Hime knew something about Masaki, and when she saw Kurosaki Isshin mentioned this time in the video, she guessed why Tengu. It looks so sad. Ichigo froze for a moment, then shook his head slowly. It's okay. Why not Yulong? This day is also the time when Katagiba Yi loses consciousness. In the picture, Kurosaki Isshin's heavy gaze made Ichigo stunned. Listen, the day your mother died, she shouldn't have died that day. What does that mean? Ichigo didn't know what his father meant. The Quincy has an ability called Blood Outfit. Well, I heard from Urahara that injecting Ryotsu into the blood vessels can improve the ability. This is the innate ability of a pure-blooded Quincy Master. Even if one does not possess this ability by nature, it can be achieved by training the day after tomorrow. Yiksen continued. Masaki, although there is hollow mixed in her body, as a pure-blood Quincy, especially the defensive blood equipment, the ability of static blood equipment is outstanding. So, except for being hurt by Shu when she met me, after that, she has never been hurt by Shu again. Yiksen bowed his head in silence, and then slowly said after a while, it's not that I couldn't save Masaki that day, but I didn't go at all. That day he noticed Grand Fisher's Ryotsu at home, but he didn't have Shinigami ability, so he couldn't help. Although Grand and Fisher can hide Ryotsu's hollow, but the strength gap between the two is huge, not to mention that Masaki will die from being injured by him, but should hit him unscathed. Defeated. Outside the video 4.7, Kurosaki Natsuri and Yuzu suddenly looked at Kurosaki Isshin in surprise. You didn't save Mom at all? This sentence hit Yiksen's heart like a bullet. He was silent, remorseful. Seirei. Ryotsu who can feel the emptiness, why don't you help Masaki, what a badass captain. Rangaku grinned and complained, as a woman, she also likes girls like Masaki very much, and when she heard that Kurosaki Isshin didn't go to save Masaki, she immediately became angry. Rangaku calmed down. Toshiro said lightly, Captain Shiba, at that time there was no power of Shinigami, and it was useless to go there, but Captain Shiba must be very remorseful and desperate. Bar. In the video screen, Kurosaki Isshin sighed and continued, but, it turned out not to be like that, your friend Uryu, have you heard about his mother? Ichigo shook his head. No, he's not the kind of person who likes to mention his family. His mother's name was Hei Katagira, a mixed-race Quincy. She fell ill on June 17, 9 years ago, and died 3 months later. What happened 9 years ago? Ichigo's pupils shrank suddenly. No wonder Yulong never mentioned his family, and it seemed that he also had a pain in his heart. Keep calm with all your heart. In the inheritance of the Quincy, there is a custom of praising the sealed king. Through this custom, the king of the sealed Quincy, after 900 years, has a heartbeat. Resuscitated again, then regained consciousness over 90 years, and regained strength over another 9 years. As the king of the Quincy, Yuhabach, in order to restore his own strength, decided to take back the power of the Quincy from the mixed blood Quincy, and replenish it to himself. Katagirahai, who was originally very weak, died. Masaki, because she lost her ability, she also died in the battle. Kurosaki Isshin frowned. All this stems from the holy sanctification of the Quincy ancestor friend Habach. Chapter 82. Sexy little black cat. Flash goddess Yoruichi is on the list, seeking subscription. Invisible Empire. Yuhabach sat on the throne, supported his side jaw with his arm, and smiled faintly. He didn't expect Kurosaki Isshin to know his business. Of course, no guesswork, it must be Urahara Kazuki. Originally pure blood, after being invaded by the power of the void, it was affected by my sanctification, and thus lost its power. The reason is still on me. Yuhabach closed his eyes slightly. Extreme half-breed, my son. Kurosaki Ichigo, are you feeling angry now? Anger is a good thing, but it's not good to feel powerless. Present world. Yuhabach again. Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes were full of anger. First, they invaded the Soul Society, making Seireii miserable, and then attacked the Soul King's palace to build a new world city in Seireii. How many Shinigami died at the hands of Quincy? All this is caused by Yuhabach. Although Kurosaki Ichigo is an agent Shinigami, not yet an official Shinigami, but in his eyes there is absolutely no room for Yuhabach to act recklessly. Now it is also known that the mother was killed by Shu because of the sanctity. He wished he could kill Yuhabach right now. Ichigo turned his head to look at Ishida Uryu, who had a similar experience with himself, gritted his teeth, and said, Ishida, Yuhabach gave it to me, and I will kill him in 10 minutes. Ishida Uryu shouted, decisively stealing the limelight from Ichigo, if you want to kill, I will kill you too. Student Yulong, classmate Kurosaki, calm down, haven't you heard what Kurosaki uncle said? Yuhabach is the ancestor of the Quincy, and he can understand the method of holy sacredness, and absorb the energy of the Quincy, so his own the power is also absolutely terrifying. Don't think about killing him alone, you should join forces. Inoue Orihime looked at the two with frowns. She understood how Ichigo and Uryu felt when facing their mother-killing enemies, but impulsiveness is the devil, and joint confrontation is the best choice. Speaking of teaming up, Ichigo suddenly sounded. In the previous video, Ishida Uryu appeared in the invisible imperial forces, and became Yuhabach's subordinate. Can traitors be counted on? I almost forgot, you broke your promise and went to the invisible empire as a lackey. He gave Ishida Uryu a fierce look. Kurosaki-san, Uryu may have some difficulties. Inoue Orihime explained for Uryu. 04. Yulong was silent for a while. It was true that his future self was in the invisible empire, but he didn't want to explain. Whether it is the future or the present, his purpose is very clear, to kill Yuhabach, no matter what sacrifices he makes. Seireii. The captains were also surprised. Except for Jingle Chunshui and Unohana Retsu, several veteran captains who knew about Yuhabach before the stocktaking began, the rest knew nothing about the ancestor of the Quincy Master. But using holy to deprive the power of the mixed blood Quincy also shocked Unohana Retsu and the others. After 900 years of heartbeat recovery, 90 years of recovery of consciousness, and 9 years of recovery of strength, Yuhabach was resurrected in this way, sacrificing the Quincy to resurrect himself. This is the ancestor of the Quincy. Unohana Retsu said lightly that she guessed Yuhabach the moment the Quincy appeared in the video, but she couldn't figure out why Yuhabach was resurrected, and now she finally figured it out. As the ancestor of Quincy, but killed countless Quincy in disguise, it's really ironic. Komamura Sajin shook his head and smiled. Toshiro frowned. Aizen is evil. Yoha Aizen is even more evil. Yeah, it looks like Ishida Uryu went to the Invisible Empire as an undercover agent, just like Ichimaru Jin. Kurotsuchi Mayuri sneered, and glanced at Rangaku. He was very concerned about Ishida Uryu. According to the analysis of Yuhabach's use of Holy Fire, which led to Kitagiruhai's death, Ichiryu's shin is obvious. Hearing, undercover, Ichimaru Jin, Rangaku was stunned for a moment, and said with a sob, perhaps, Yuhabach is more difficult to deal with than Aizen who owns Hogyoku. Return to the video screen. Kurosaki Isshin also revealed the real cause of Kurosaki Masaki's death. After losing his strength, he was killed by Grand Fisher. After hearing the reason, Ichigo was silent for a few seconds, and then asked, why can he do such a thing? Is it because he is the king? No, concentrating on it. The Quincy originated from him, and all the Quincy have his blood. At this moment, Ichigo seemed to be brought into the depths of his soul, and a deep voice sounded in his ears. You have awakened the memory in your Ryatsu so quickly, you can't catch the Quincy. You don't know anything about yourself. You don't even know about your mother. You were born in the dark, my son. This is what Yuhabach said when he met Yuhabach for the first time. He trembled all over his body, and finally understood the meaning of this sentence, and immediately his eyes froze. Thank you, Dad. The video playback ends here. Uncle Zangetsu inside me is really Yuhabach. The corner of Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched, unable to accept this fact. Facing the murderer who killed his mother, while unable to take revenge, the enemy actually exists in his body. How could he accept this fact? The Uncle Zangetsu, who was once admired so much, at this moment, also became like a devil. Ichigo tried hard to enter the inner world, and personally met Yuhabach. Although he knew that it was just the fake Yuhabach manifested by the power of the Quincy in his body, he could only use this to vent his anger. But for some reason, after trying to enter the inner world, what appeared was desolation. No whiteness, no, Yuhabach, consciousness is separated from the inner world. Ichigo must remain calm. He knows that with his own strength, there is no way to defeat Yuhabach. He wants to become stronger, as powerful as Yamamoto Genryuzai, Hogyoku Aizen. Void Knight Palace. Interesting, interesting. Aizen leaned on the throne with a contented smile on his lips. The power of Shinigami, the power of Hollow, and the power of Quincy, it seems that they will all be stimulated in the future. In his plan, the priority of mobilizing the power of Kurosaki Ichigo Shinigami and the power of the Void is higher, and he did not make a careful strategy for the power of the Destroyer in Ichigo. Aizen is very clear about the existence of the Invisible Empire, Quincy and Yuhabach. He understands that the power of the Quincy in Ichigo needs to be stimulated by the appearance of Yuhabach. I am in perfect Hogyoku state, Yuhabach, are you still a match? But, suddenly, Aizen frowned. After taking stock of so many Quincy, why didn't he appear in the future picture? His purpose of creating Wang Jian is to go to the palace of the Spirit King, replace the Spirit King, and become a god. Could it be that the self at that time had already become a god? No, the captains of Team Zero are still guarding the palace of the Spirit King, and it doesn't look like the future self will capture the Spirit King official. Could it be that I have failed? No, I am immortal, how could I fail? At this time, Kurosaki Isshin's inventory is over. His name suddenly appeared on the gold list. Kurosaki Isshin, who values love and righteousness, has also been recognized by everyone. Soon, the next name on the list will be announced. The 29th place in the power list, Shihuan Yoruichi. Name: Shihuan Yoruichi Faction. Urahara Store Identity, Shinigami, formerly. Ability: Cat Form, Instant Coax X, 90 Defense, 89. Speed: 92. 91 Vitality, 90 Keto, 88 Ryatsu, 90. Combat Power: 800,000 Shihuan Yoruichi, former captain of Gode 13's 2nd Division, former commander-in-chief of Secret Maneuvers, and commander of the 1st Division of the Criminal Army. And known as Flash Goddess Yoruichi, he was once the 20th second-generation patriarch of the Shihuan family, one of the 4 nobles of the Soul Society. Of course, it is not because of her strong background that she is ranked 29th in the combat power list, but because of Yoruichi's own strength. White hits, instant hits, and Keto are all excellent. Seirei. Shihuan Yoruichi, the former head of the Shihuan family? Toshiro's eyes shine. Although Yoruichi left the Soul Society with Urahara Kazuki 100 years ago, but Shihuan is one of the 4 nobles of the Soul Society, and he has a little understanding. But Yoruichi was the captain of the 2nd squad, so he still doesn't know. Is it the old Shinigami again? Komamura Sajin was slightly surprised. For Yoruichi, he didn't even know much about Toshiro. Yeah. Toshiro nodded, then looked at Sui Feng, and said, the former captain of the 2nd team, Captain Sui Feng knows her very well. Not only to understand, for Yoruichi, Sui Feng even sacrificed his own life. Yeah, 2 Shinigami are on the list in a row. Jingle Chunshui caressed the bamboo hat inside. It's a pity, Captain Shiba and Captain Yoruichi have left their posts, so they can't be counted as our Seirei. Including Hiriko Shinji, there are already 3 departed Shinigami on the list. On the contrary, there are so many Shinigami standing in the conference room, only Rukia and Komamura Sajin are on the list. Compare it, it's so shameless. Doesn't this mean that Shendu ran away and Seirei left a bunch of garbage? Shout, the ranking is so rubbish, I don't bother to be on the list. Zaraki Kenpachi grinned, expressing his disdain. How about the former captain of the 2nd team, and what about the owner of Shihuan? In his eyes, they are nothing. Komamura Sajin shot Zaraki Kenpachi angrily. Where to scold whom? The 29th place is still low, you can say yes after you get on the list first. Komamura Sajin cursed inwardly. Of course he believed that Zaraki Kenpachi could be on the list, but this kind of contemptuous state is really too annoying. Look at Shihuan Yoruichi's panel. The speed has reached a terrifying 92 points, which is the highest among all the people currently counting. Kira's eyes tightened, and he was shocked when he saw this value. Even faster than Ichimaru Jin with Kamishini no Yari. Of course, Kamishini no Yari is Zanpakuto, and the panel represents himself, but the speed of 92 is too exaggerated. Vice Captain Kira, it seems that you don't know the title of Shihuan Yoruichi. Toshiro smiled lightly. Flash Goddess Yoruichi. Flash Goddess. Some young officers and vice captains were shocked when they heard this title. In Soul Society, it can be called Flash Goddess. Imagine how fast it is. No, whether it's resignation or not, Shinigami's ability should be related to Zanpakuto, such as Bankai, and Captain Shiba's last Zanjetsu, but... Toshiro turned his head and glanced at Sui Feng in doubt, and continued. Shouzing is a fighting technique that combines white hits and Keto. Captain Sui Feng will also, and another. Is Shihuan Yoruichi's Zanpakuto ability a change? Adult cat? He was curious, what the hell is there a cat form on Yoruichi's attribute panel besides instant coaxing? Having said that, Komamura Sajin suddenly became interested, stared at Sui Feng with wide eyes. He is a werewolf himself, and after becoming a Shinigami, he has always been proud of his appearance. Humble. Could it be that Shihuan Yoruichi is a human cat? Komamura thought. Sui Feng didn't want to explain, but seeing so many eyes staring at her, she slowly opened her mouth. Yoruichi's Zanpakuto ability is mediocre, her strongest is white hits and instant joke, as time goes by. She then abandoned Zanpakuto in battle. Speaking of this, she pursed her lips. As for why she turned into a cat, I really don't know. Urahara Store. Miss Yoruichi is on the list, manager. Sumuya looked at Urahara Kazuki with melancholy eyes, and then glanced at Yoruichi who was in the state of a black cat not far away. Yeah, Yoruichi is on the list, and the power is Urahara Store. Urahara Kazuki covered his mouth with a folding fan and smiled innocently. Yoruichi walked over on catwalks, made a manly voice, and complained. The description of this ability is too sloppy. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes widened. It's unbelievable that Yoruichi made the list. He knew the identity of Urahara Kazuki, he also recognized Kazuki's ability, and he also knew that Yoruichi had joined the secret mobile team, but surpassed so many strong people and entered the top 30, too. Exaggerated it. The inside of the Urahara Store is really hidden. The corner of Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched. If he knew that the clerk Tessai Tsukabishi was the head of the Kido, he would probably go crazy. Ha ha ha. Ms. Yoruichi's cat form is actually written in the ability column. Inoue Orihime smiled faintly. However, at this time, the screen has already started to play on the big screen. In a hot spring, Kurosaki Ichigo is taking a bath, 870. This is the stage where he was trained by Urahara Kazuki to find Zanpakuto. Soaking in the hot spring, his injuries began to slowly recover. What kind of hot spring is this? It's so powerful that the wounds have healed. Kurosaki Ichigo plunged into the water immediately, looking like he had never seen the world, and shouted, "It's so powerful. Can any disease be cured?" But at this moment, a woman with purple hair tied into a ponytail, golden eyes, and brown skin walked over. Ichigo, how's the water temperature? Yoruichi asked. Okay, super comfortable. Ichigo turned around and shook him. People are taking a bath. Okay, what are you doing here, a girl? Yes, that's good. As Yoruichi said, he untied his belt and said lightly, then let me go out for a night out too. Hearing this, Ichigo was frightened. Even if Yoruichi was embarrassed, he was also embarrassed. Kurosaki Ichigo, you're lucky. Outside the video, Renji gave a smirk and raised an eyebrow at Juhu. B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Seeing Renji's wretched look, Ichigo hit him on the forehead with a hammer. The scream continues. You idiot! Seeing Yoruichi undressing, Ichigo immediately buried his head in the water. What does it matter, lol? Your reaction is exactly what I thought it would be. Yoruichi smiled lightly and teased, it's really immature. Immediately, Yoruichi's voice changed into a male voice. If it looks like this, it should be fine. Then a black cat walks into the hot spring. Ah, I don't even need to type this time. Jingle Chunshui outside the video shook his head in disappointment. Even coding is better than turning into a black cat. Chishu pursed her lips and complained, Captain, you said you were a gentleman. Komamura Sajin had a smile on the corner of his mouth. I really turned into a cat, so this is the ability of the cat form, which is quite convenient. Sui Feng glared at him viciously and said coldly, that is, it must not be as powerful as your humanization technique, use it once and the person will be gone. Return to the screen. Seeing Yoruichi in the black cat state, Ichigo was also relieved, and then said, there is one thing I have been thinking about, this is very similar to the underground exercise room of the Urahara store. Because it was built in imitation of this place, it was originally a place where Kazuki and I secretly dug out as a secret playground when we were young, Yoruichi said. Secretly? Dug a place so exaggeratedly large? Ichigo looked around the training field in surprise. It's been a long time since he joined Gode 13 and I joined Covert Mobile, and I've come here every day for a while, recalls Yoruichi. Wait, Yoruichi. Ichigo seemed to be aware of their incredible identities, and suddenly turned to look at Yoruichi, only to find that she had turned into a human form and was sitting in the hot spring step. Ichigo had a full view, and he was frightened and fell into the water at once. Seirei. The corner of Jingle Chunshui's mouth twitched. What the hell? I can't see anything from this damn angle. This Kurosaki father and son are really good enough.